What is this? You need sound for this.
When somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you, I am waging war, I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class, and you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected.
Okay.
A big event. A lot of charitable causes are involved. So we look forward to that. It's in Miami at Doral.
President Trump, the markets today are way down, the worst day in years because of the tariffs. So how's it going?
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom.
We're booming,
and the
boys.
rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. Having a big event, and a lot of charitable causes are involved.
Altogether? Well, yeah, but like for individually target instead of altogether? Well, yeah, but like for example, it would be really easy for like if Trump like enforces really, really rough tariffs on like one country, then it's not really going to matter for the US because we can make up that difference. But if he's able to do that for every country and the country isn't willing to get rid of their tariffs, that's when the US would really see a big risk, and that's when Trump's plan wouldn't work. So the fact is that these countries roaching out before this happens actually makes it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that will make it to where Trump will come out ahead with this. That's it. Yeah, it's 4D chess. It's not even 4D chess. This is a basic rule. It's like if you take out stragglers first, because, and you've got to keep in mind also, like a lot of these stragglers in these smaller countries, they can't afford to get into a trade war the same way that maybe China can, or even like European countries can,
who are also
because they don't have that level of wealth in their country. And so he knows that. He knows that he can basically kill their economy, so they have to come to the table. And once they come to the...
Why not just tell them that then and bring the... I don't know. I'm going to say this a million times. Like, you don't have to actually do the thing. The whole point of having like an extortion or whatever button is that you can pressure people without actually having to do the thing, right? Like...
table, then it makes it easier to make the other people come to the table. That's it. And Trump's going live soon? Yeah, I know. And so yeah, Vietnam is cut in.
Got him. The classic misspeak. Okay. The morning NASDAQ dropped more than during Lehman Monday. NASDAQ only lost 3.6% the first day of Lehman collapse in 2008. Based. Remember to say thank you. What is the NASDAQ down? More than 4 points? Damn, 5.8%. I'm sure it'll rebound by the end of the day. Fucking penguins. Fucking penguins. Take them out. True. Haha, I told you he was going to become a dictator. Based. Haha, content president. True.
Well, here's something that I'm watching closely today, and it isn't just today, but how long does this last? The Dow and other markets.
Got some Fox News code.
President Trump says he's going to make America wealthy again with his new tariff plan. It includes a baseline 10% tariff on all U.S. imports, as well as country-specific rates. The White House compared these side by side to what each country is charging the United States. Trump argued our nation has been getting ripped off by other nations. Here's Vice President J.D. Vance.
I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation. We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that. He promised it, and now he's delivering.
Well, here's something that I'm watching closely today, and it isn't just today, but how long does this last? The Dow and other market indicators are being affected right now, as you can see.
Being affected.
Retirees and those people who are about to need those 401ks that they worked so hard to build through the years are seeing this and may be very worried. So Fox Business's Charles Payne has some words about it. Watch this.
The last thing we want to focus on right now is the stock market. So there's a lot of culprits here, but we finally have woken up, and I think the American public, we've been making a huge mistake to watch the stock market. In fact, the administration says, listen, if you want to see where we're going, what we like to do, particularly remember, President Trump was elected first and foremost to bring inflation down. So they want to see the dollar come down a little bit. It's been too strong, and it's going to need to come down probably to fight off some of the countermeasures. The stock market, I would not worry at all. In fact,
The dollar coming down fights inflation? Is that true? I feel like the dollar losing value would increase inflation now. Am I misunderstanding? Or is there a way to... I thought a stronger dollar makes it easier to buy other stuff.
Be a buyer of weakness, not a panic. Do not panic here. That's my message to America.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy. Peter?
Yeah, I didn't watch the movie, but I heard that it was like... I heard the movie was kind of cringe because it was way too on the nose. That Don't Look Up movie. But is this like actually what is happening? I didn't want it.
Harris, there are TVs all over the West Wing. Officials here know that the stock markets are crashing right now. But they claim that because so much money has been invested in the United States recently by companies hoping to avoid the impact of tariffs, that things could start to turn around very quickly.
People are going to start building factories right now, and that means all that construction work begins now. That starts to employ Americans today. You're going to see plants being built, factories rebuilding. All shifts are going to be running hot across America now. You're going to see employment leaping starting today.
President Trump says the operation is over, the patient lived and is healing. The prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again. But some Democrats are struggling to see the sunny side in any of this.
I don't know from what he's liberating the American people. He ran on making America affordable again. There are millions of Americans who voted for Donald Trump believing he...
Wait. Does this thing collect random shit that actually floats by? Or if I set a filter, will it increase the amount that a certain material spawns? Does that make sense what I'm asking there?
He would actually reduce prices. He is demonstrably raising prices on virtually everything.
It has to actually
because we are
by.
part of a globally interconnected world and economy.
If President Trump is going to talk further about this and about whether or not the declines in the markets are in line with what he expected, it'll be around 2 o'clock when he walks out to Marine One for a trip to Florida and a live golf event. Harris.
All right. Peter, thank you very much for setting us up.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.
Okay, hold on, wait. This is super over-engineered. I could just have this belt like rotating, and if there's more than a certain amount of a material on the belt, then I just don't collect that material. That's what I should be doing, huh? Oh, okay. Fuck this. All right, whatever. Cringe. Let's see. Wall Street Millennial, a sad day for America. I think we got enough of that. Benny Johnson for the ultra talking points. And then we've got PBD. I don't know what it is for Sam Seder, but I feel like I'm not feeling the fire as much. But maybe we'll see here.
You know, anybody that's a billionaire, his favorite people, absolute big fan. And he's going to tell us why today. We've had him on before. I always respect anybody that is willing to come on, that may have opposing ideas, to sit down and have a conversation. Sam, it's great to have you back on here again.
It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to say that some of my best friends are rich people.
I believe you. Yeah. I believe that you have a lot of rich friends. Trust me, I believe you. Now, the question is, you want them to get taxed 90%, but we'll have that conversation as well. Gang, well, a lot of stories.
Top marginal rate of 90%.
Right, but you're rich too, Sam.
Not these horrible arguments. It's okay. All right, let's hear it.
Let's not. Well, gang, a lot of stories.
Top marginal rate of 90%.
Right, but you're rich too, Sam. Let's not.
I am rich as well.
You're rich too. Okay, we got a lot of stories to talk about. Sam is obviously a diehard fan of Elon Musk. He wants to give some more praise to him today. We'll talk a little bit about him. We'll talk about tariffs with Liberation Day. One of the stories, CNBC host hits Trump with insult. He'll hate amid tanking stock market. We'll talk about that story. Frustration grows with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick ahead of Trump's tariff announcement. Loose cannon with half-baked ideas. Another story about private companies added 155,000 jobs in March, more than expected, ADP says. Hooters, bankruptcy, devastating for a lot of people. $376 million debt and restructuring. Charlie Javis must wear an ankle monitor despite her budding Pilates career, judge rules. Gen Z is facing a career apocalypse. Stephen A. Smith drops mountain of receipts on MSNBC writer who called his MAGA mouthpiece. We'll play that clip. ESPN's Monica McNutt claims Caitlin Clark is popular because she's a white girl from middle America. This TikTok deal is getting very interesting. We don't know whether Amazon's going to buy it, whether Andreessen Horowitz is going to buy it, whether they're both going to be involved. There's a lot of interesting people saying they're going to buy it. So eventually one person will. Who that is, we don't know. There's a couple stories here with Vanguard. Sam Seder gets real about Anna Kasparian, and Cenk Uygur spills the tea on the Young Turks. I think that may be an older story, but we'll cover it anyway since it's been a couple years. Elon Musk to the 5 on Tesla attacks. We know who is behind it, and we are coming for them. Obama was working against Kamala Harris behind the scenes. Didn't think she could win. New book reveals. Nevada school schools ban trans athletes from girls sports in major reversal from state. We'll cover that part, and then we got a couple other stories here. Democrats' approval rating remains low point. Unhinged, Jasmine Crockett roasts herself by admitting she is a DEI hire. Which story is that? Sky News. Trump administration freezes funding to Maine for letting trans athletes in girls sports. Massive layoffs hitting health agencies that track disease and regular food. Female fencer takes a knee. Forfeits in protest of transgender opponents. Texas high school football star. This is a devastating story. Austin Metcalf stabbed in the heart, left to die in twins' brother arm at track meet. And the dad react. This is going to be a tough one to watch, folks, when we go through it.
Yeah.
Wow. We're talking about it right before the podcast. Elon Musk's 24 hours, a Wisconsin Supreme Court loss. Tesla's sales plunge, and reports he may soon leave role in Trump's White House. Yahoo News will cover that story. And then National Police, in final report, downplay Covenant shooters' transgender identity, hatred of Christianity. That's a Daily Wire story, and we got a few other things that we'll cover as well. Before we get into the podcast, guys, we want 1 million people to support The Future Looks Bright here. We are getting very close to it. We got something unique that came in. Just so you guys know, I only wear the Vitamin wallet. This is all I have. I think Adam's the same as well. But we got these new wallets, okay, that are RFID protected wallets to have with different Future Looks Bright signs on it. Rob, if you can go through, we got the red one, we got the black one. If you can go to the neck, all the colors so they can see it, beige, blue, gray, brown, you name it. We have it here. Anybody that places an order with these RFID wallets, you're going to get a leather keychain added to it with the Vitamin logo design on it. Again, you support the brand, you follow what we do. If you believe like we do that the future looks bright, go sport the gear. These will not last a long time, just like the leather backpack did it on Tuesday. That thing went in no time. Go place your order, carry your wallet with this RFID wallet protector. Future looks bright. Okay. All right, so let's get right into it. Sam, question for you. From the last time you were here, I think it was 2 years ago, but it was, give or take, 2 years ago. At the time, it was probably a terrible season for Trump, I think we can say. Trump wasn't having a lot of victories. Trump was at a very low. Republicans were not convinced that he could go. Republicans were thinking it's probably going to be DeSantis or it's going to be somebody else. There was a bit of a split in the Republican Party and the MAGA. Like, I don't know. Even when he opened up his announcement that he's running at Mar-a-Lago, there was not a lot of people there. People saying, I don't even know, this person wasn't there, that person wasn't there, this person wasn't there. And then you get these CNN polls. Rob, if you can pull up the CNN video showing where the Democratic Party is at today, play this clip, and I want to ask you, Sam, what happened to the Democratic Party? Go for it.
Toledo, voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how Democratic voters feel. Get this. The plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49%, and just 40% approve. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Oh, my goodness gracious, you just can't get worse than these numbers.
And this is the number right here really driving all of this. If Democratic voters have turned on Democrats in Congress and the Democratic Party, that's what puts the numbers.
What was the date for this broadcast?
at historic lows.
Do you think we're ever going to talk about Trump's approval ratings, or
what is it they want to be seeing, these voters?
What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. They don't like what's coming out of some of those Senate Democrats like Chuck Schumer, because take a look at the direction of the party. Democratic voters on Democrats in Congress doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. Look at this. 77% should stay principled, even if it means nothing gets done in Washington, D.C. 65%. And this 65% is such a difference from where we were in 2017 at this point, when just 33% of Democrats say they should stay principled, compared to 59% who said they want to compromise. Democrats do not want compromise at this point. They want a fighter. They want to go into the ring like Muhammad Ali did against Sonny Liston. They want to take down the Republicans. They do not want this compromise anymore. They want to be more like Republicans, get up to that stage and fight. And right now they feel like their leaders in Congress are simply not doing so. And that is why their approval rating for congressional Democrats is at all-time low, even among Democrats.
Rob, if you want to pause that. Sam, what happened? What happened to the Democratic Party?
Well, I should start by saying I always thought that Trump would be the nominee. And 2 years ago, I was wondering why Ron DeSantis was lighting his career on fire by trying to run against Donald Trump, to be honest with you. I think, Trump and the Republican Party, I think they're one and the same. And so that doesn't surprise me. Those numbers are some of the most encouraging numbers I've seen in the 20 some odd years I've been doing this, because I want to see it communicated to Democratic leadership that we want you to fight.
Hold on one second. Let me use the restroom. Oh boy.
And I've been riding Chuck Schumer for, 10 years, trying to get him. I mean, Harry Reid was a great, I think, as far as they go, leader of the Senate for Democrats. But I think it's time for new leadership in the Democratic Party. We need and this is not even ideological from my perspective. I think there are Democrats that I agree with and Democrats that I disagree with on an ideological standpoint. But I think a different generation of Democrats understand that the Republican Party is intransigent. There is no negotiating with them. I think the biggest mistake that Joe Biden made was following the American Rescue Act, which was a massive boon to the American public. We cut child poverty by 45% in a year. I just want to repeat that.
The biggest mistake was following that? Is that what he said? Hold on.
There is no negotiating with them. I think the biggest mistake that Joe Biden made was following the American Rescue Act.
Oh, he's going to say following it with some type of stimulus for rich people or something. I think that's what he's going to say.
Which was a massive boon to the American public. We cut child poverty by 45% in a year. I just want to repeat that. We cut child poverty by 45% in a year because of that act when Biden first got in. And you know what Republicans were talking about after we passed bills that cut child poverty in a year, that extended unemployment benefits, that provided food stamps, that provided health insurance. Republicans were talking about 2 books that the Dr. Seuss publisher decided not to publish. And so in my mind, the Republican Party there is completely bankrupt of ideas. And Joe Biden, instead of pushing through Build Back Better over that summer, he opened the door for the Republicans to give a proposal. That went nowhere for 3 months. Then he opened the door for Kristen Sinema and Rob Portman to come in and give a proposal. And that ultimately, I think, is when Democratic voters started getting impatient with Biden, because we were thinking $5 trillion, $4 trillion. Joe Manchin was saying $6 trillion Build Back Better bill. And we never got anything like that. It ended up getting split into the IRA, which was a good bill, but I think insufficient. And then infrastructure stuff, also important but insufficient. And so I think what you're seeing is frustration from Democratic voters who are saying, A, you're not fighting, B, you're allowing the Republicans too much opportunity, and C, we need more government intervention.
Do you think it's more that they're not fighting, or do you think that their policies are simply bad policies and they're not landing?
No, I think it's that they're not fighting. What are the policies?
So tell me what policies are, like right now, the Democratic Party. Who is the face of the Democratic Party, and what are the top 3 things you guys stand for?
Well, I don't think there is a face of the Democratic Party at the moment. I mean, Chuck Schumer is nominally the highest elected Democratic official that's out there.
That's not a good sign for you guys.
100%. I agree. I call for him to resign every day. I don't know that there is a single. I don't think the Democratic Party has coalesced around an agenda. We're having there's a fight within the Democratic Party.
What would you like? Do you have someone you like that you would want to see, or do you want to see the capitalistic competitive philosophy of somebody just comes out and let's see who it is? Because if there is, even you right now, Sam,
capitalistic. I don't understand
what I mean by capitalistic, like competitive. Let's just see who comes out.
Competition predates capitalism.
Yeah, so that's good. The competition is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think obviously there's going to
literally saying what Destiny says and not a word is said. When will he be happy? When will who be happy? I don't think I've necessarily disagreed with anything Seder said so far. What do you want me to say? What?
Be a competition.
Is there anyone you like?
Well, I think there are policies that I like that are expressed by like Sanders and AOC on their tour, their anti-oligarchy tour. I mean, obviously, I think there are other policies that are floating around that I don't know that they're necessarily embodied in politicians yet. People are looking. There's a lot of stuff that Tim Walz did in Minnesota that I think is great.
Putting the tampons in the bathroom, that was my favorite. Putting them in the men's bathroom, that was probably one of the best ones. Putting that, because that's the type of policy that I think that we need.
God, what a fucking loser, dude! You're such a fucking loser. Oh my God, this guy's so. Some more trans people, please, God. Let's talk about fucking trans people. Holy shit!
Hang on. Tell me what Walz did that you liked. Substantially, statistically, that Walz did.
I think things like lunches.
I hope to God we get policy debate. What has Trump done policy-wise?
For kids, expanding educational opportunities.
Wait a minute, there weren't lunches for kids? There wasn't federal money from the Department of Education? Free lunches for kids?
Yeah.
Okay. No, let's go. I really want to hear it, because a lot of this was federal money that floated. I really want to know.
Well, other states reject. Expansion of Medicare and Medicaid.
Largest investments into green energy ever, starting of a whole bunch of infrastructure projects. You should know because Trump threw his nasty ass fucking name on a lot of them, and in the bottom it actually says it was paid for by the infrastructure bill.
I should say Medicaid in Minnesota. He provided for
expansion to who specifically?
But do you want all their names? Name every person on Medicaid. Isn't it just making more money available to states to run their Medicaid programs? Because I think Medicaid is typically administered to the or administered by the states anyways. But
through the ACA to people making 400% of poverty, he's got.
Wait a minute. Medicaid is designed, if I walk in with a broken leg to a public hospital, right, that Medicaid is there to take care of me if I'm destitute and unable to it. That's a good thing. And that's exactly the things that California did, and it was already there. What was expanded?
He's asking about Walz rather than the Biden admin. Oh, as governor. Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, I guess. All right, sure.
What was expanded about that in Minnesota?
You're expanding the pool of people who can access Medicaid on a state-by-state basis. There's still, I don't know, half a dozen states, Republican states, that don't allow that expansion of Medicaid.
Okay, so
you're not aware of that?
So I'm absolutely aware of it. But what I want to ask you is, when you expand the Medicaid, it is a fact that basically you close the public hospitals. And so what you're talking about, the things he did
That's not true.
Oh yeah? Ask Gavin Newsom. Ask him what happened to King Drew in Los Angeles. This is well documented. I'm stunned.
No, you can do a choice if you want to close a public. I mean, Andrew Cuomo closed a lot of public hospitals in New York State. That's not a function of Medicaid payments.
You want to go take a look at California and King Drew and what happened? Gavin Newsom himself talked about it.
I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom, but you're asking me about Walz. And
no, we didn't ask about Walz. You were talking. You said you like some of the things.
He asked me what I like about Tim Walz.
No, you said you
I wanted one of the specifics of the things that he did.
Right. Okay. So, but continue with the following, Sam, if you don't mind, because this is what I'm trying to find out.
He should ask him about Vance. What has Vance done specifically when he was governor of Ohio? What did you like specifically that he did?
Yeah.
So one, the Republican Party, like you said, I knew 2 years ago that Trump would be a DeSantis, all this other stuff.
Right.
We were on the same page. I thought it was going to be him. But a lot of Republicans were a little bit still staying safe and hesitant of whether they were going to go all in or not the first time you and I spoke. But today, when I said, who do you like? What policies? You said, I like what AOC is doing. You said Sanders, anti-oligarchy, all that stuff, right?
I have a different, I think, way of looking at politics maybe than you do. It's not for me. Like, if a candidate emerges who embraces a wider set of my preferred policies, that's the one I'll support. I don't really get too involved in the individual, frankly. I mean, Joe Biden was not my favorite candidate by a long shot in 2020. The fact that there were coalitions built out of Warren and Sanders supporters that ended up bringing us a much better set of labor policies than we've seen in my lifetime, from my perspective, with the National Labor Relations Board, with just the appointments of people like Abruzzo as the general counsel there, the extension of unions' ability to unionize and helping working people in that way, and then the antitrust regime that was largely a function of the Warrenites putting in their people to undermine big concentration of money and power. Those are big positives. So, do I like Joe Biden? No. But I also know that if there are the right coalitions formed that have influence within the context of an administration, that's good from my perspective.
Got it. But to me, like running a business or politics, right? Or it shifts when people all of a sudden look at you and they say, I don't like these ideas anymore. So in the Democratic Party, you have a lot of different people that would have different policies. Hey, I think we should do this, and I think we should do that. Great.
Hold on.
Obviously, it didn't land November 5th, 2024, whether it was Kamala Harris, whether it was the policies, whether it's 7 states you lose, battleground states you lose, whether it's the majority. It was a bad loss. It was a humiliating loss. One could say it was Kamala, one could say it was Obama, one could say it was Biden stepping, one could say it's Schumer, one could say it's Pelosi. Let's set that part aside. To me, the most basic part is ideas. If someone has ideas that's producing results that people like, they want to continue that, right? And we watched, like if I ask a Democrat, even right now, I ask you for 15 minutes, I still don't know if Democrats know what they're for. Like,
well, I'm not speaking for the Democratic Party. I can tell you what I'm for.
Tell me what you're for.
Oh, I am for.
No, he's not going to defend the Dems.
Universal health care, single payer health care.
Yep.
I am for increased ability to unionize. I am for decommodifying parts of the housing sector. I am for decommodifying power. I am for decommodifying access to the internet. Those are my big ones right there.
I think your party is for that?
Well, who in the Democratic Party is for that? I don't know that there's anybody who in our party who embraces all of those. I mean, that is a major political figure. I mean, I think I'm to the left of the Democratic Party, but I think there are elements of what I want that are represented by people in the Democratic Party. I think having a very jaundiced eye to the overwhelming concentration of wealth and wealth disparity, I think is a fundamental problem that we have in this country. I think too much of what happens in this country is a function of the concentration of wealth. I mean, that gets back to why I want to return back to the tax regime we had in the 50s and the 60s, where the top marginal rate was 90% for every dollar above what today's money would be about $4 million. So, and just to explain this, because I've seen so many people on the right not understand marginal tax rates that it's almost disturbing. The first $1 million that you earn is taxed at 32%, or whatever the prevailing rate is. The second $1 million you earn, 32%. The third, 32%, because I think that's the highest. Maybe it's 37% is the highest. Once you get over $4 million, every extra dollar after that is taxed at a 90% rate.
That's what you want.
That is what we had in this country for several decades in the post-World War.
Why do you think that's good, though? Because we talked about this. Why do you think that's good?
I'll tell you. Because it flattens wealth disparity.
Okay.
And that is when you have the greatest expansion of the economy.
Right.
When the wealth of the country is shared by as many people as possible. Right. Obviously, it's not everybody gets the same amount, but...
Do you think that's a popular idea? Do you think 80% of Americans want that? Americans want that?
I think if I was to show Americans... If I was to show
You've been
Americans...
showing for 20 years,
No. Yeah, put up a graph of income disparity.
Right.
You put up a graph of income disparity, Americans are shocked when they realize how much money is held by the top 1% in this country. Really, the top 0.1% relative to the rest. I mean, like literally a handful of families have more money and more wealth in this country than 50% of the population.
There's so many questions to that. For me, the question is the following. Here's where I'm trying to go with that.
You show that to 80% of Americans, and there's no questions. You're going to be like, what the fuck?
You know what? You know what else you can show? You can't, because you're a guest. But you know what else? You can. CAN. Okay. You can. You're a guest. So if somebody could go and say, okay, why don't you pull up who pays the most taxes in America? The top 1% pays 50% of taxes in America. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can give that argument. So to me, if we go back and forth, but this is the part I want to do with this specific argument, this specific idea, where I want to go with a guy like you. Okay, is I think sometimes, like the Democratic Party, you go to a message, and you know how Trump tests things out. Yeah, Greenland. It's Greenland. Greenland. Yeah, Greenland. It's going to be so one way or another. We're not going to go to World War I. Yeah, third term. I'm not talking about third term. But a lot of people are talking about third term. Yeah, Canada should just be a 51st state. Governor Trudeau. Trump will throw these things out there, okay? And then the market reacts to it. And the market will say, what is he talking about? And then I believe this is how I do it as a business owner. You kind of, I'll be in front of, I'll never forget one time I brought 9 of my guys and I dropped an idea on them. You should have seen the reaction on everybody. You know what the reaction was? They looked at me like I was high. They looked at me like I am on shrooms. They're like, what the fuck? Pat, respectfully, these are terrible ideas. So you know what happens to a business owner? They're so used to coming up with bad ideas. What do? They move on with bad ideas. So to me, Trump gets up there and says, what do you think about this? And then he looks, he says, okay, what's the guy that I respect? Okay, this guy's pretty reasonable. What did he say? What did she say? Okay, let's move on. To the Democratic side, somebody like you.
But let
me just finish the point. I'll come to you. Trust me, I want to hear from you. To me, I feel like the Democrats, like you, okay, you have a voice. People watch you. You're an influencer in your community. And you actually have the ability to kind of go and help your community out, help your party out. There are certain policies that you keep pitching that is no longer popular, that's been exposed so many times, because what we learned, like the biggest part why some of the conservatives like the Doge concept and some of the Democrats that like the Doge concept is it's government wasted expenditure. Obama talked about it. Clinton's talked about it. People on the left have talked about it for many, many years. And the average person watches this and says, okay, so after 4 million, you want to put the tax rate at 90%? Yes, I do. Okay, so all you're saying is that the government knows how to use my money better than free enterprise? I don't believe that.
Well,
so that's where the argument stops.
That's not the premise of why I want to do that taxation. I mean, the government will redistribute the money. And
that's no longer a popular idea in America. That's the part where you see the young Turks kind of growing and evolving and seeing some of the ideas that kind of is not popular.
Listen, the fact of the matter is government always redistributes money. It always redistributes money. Every government at every moment is redistributing money. The question is, which direction is that money flowing? That's it. There is no doubt. Governments redistribute money at every moment. The question is, which direction
are they at it? What? How successful have they been at it? How good are they at it? How much waste have they done with redistributing money?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, look, we have a massive, massive military budget. And if you want to look for waste and fraud in government, that is where you go. That's where all the money is. Everybody knows it. There's an enormous amount of waste and fraud. They can't even get through an audit. How many audits has it been? Half a dozen? Social
7.
Security,
yeah,
and they can't pass a single audit. Social Security is audited all the time. Do you know how much money? Let's talk about this for a second. I watched the video of you guys on the plane down of when Elon Musk was in Wisconsin blowing up his whole brand, essentially.
Okay.
And he was on stage with a guy named Garcia. Do you guys remember this video?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It was like 2 days ago.
Yes. The Social Security numbers spiking in the last 4 years.
The Social Security numbers.
2.2 million new non-citizen Social Security numbers. Yes.
And the amount of misinformation from every single person, all of you, was astonishing to me.
What was it? What was the misinformation?
I mean, I almost feel like we should go through the whole video.
This is coming from a socialist.
No,
the level of credibility you have as a socialist.
Yes,
progressive system that has never worked. But I want to hear it.
That is anti-oligarchy.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Go for it.
First off, you seem to not understand that these were not undocumented immigrants who were getting these Social Security numbers. They are non-citizens. Now, when you came to this country, you were an immigrant. Your parents came legally. Right. Every single one of those people who got those Social Security numbers are here legally. They're not citizens, just like you weren't when you first came to this country. You get a green card. Your parents get a green card. They go through a process. All of those people.
Almost everything that's been said about Social Security was complete and utter fucking bollocks. We'll see how they cope on this, though. I'm so curious.
And to understand, they got their Social Security card.
I really want to see your point.
Well, the point is, you referred to them as undocumented and illegal.
No,
you did.
I said non-citizen.
No, excuse me.
Non-citizens can have Social Security numbers.
Correct.
I can't remember which one of you got it wrong.
Non-Social Security.
You're thinking, but
we can play the video and go through it. But
I'm still trying to get to the point.
I just want to make. Well, the point is, they're not illegal. They're not undocumented. They're all legal.
Right.
The expansion from that program, the EBE program, which is enumeration beyond entry, was started under the Trump administration. The numbers have gone up because, yes, under Biden, as opposed to Trump, there was an expansion of people who were here, probably, I'm not sure.
A lot of illegals.
Excuse me.
10+ million,
not a single one of them. Not a single. Hold on, you're changing the subject now.
No, I'm not.
I'm talking about that video, and every one of those Social Security numbers that was handed out.
So how do you feel about the illegal immigrants that came to us 4 years?
I will get to it.
You don't care about those people.
I will get to the
No, you're trying to pivot, and it's a 4-on-1, or at least a 3.5-on-1. You pussy, answer the fucking question. Answer the question. Or deal with this fact. It was misinformation. To stop pivoting to, how many illegals came in. None of the Social Security numbers were issued illegally. That was a fucking lie.
You cared about children.
But you don't want to talk about this, and I don't blame you because it's embarrassing.
But let me do a quick
Every one of those Social Security numbers.
Do a quick time out here.
No, why are you timing out? What? Oh, quick time out. When the illegal immigrants come in. That has nothing to do with what you're talking about right now.
You said you don't want to talk about this. You just spun away from a question I asked you and you brought this up.
Because it had nothing to do with the point you were talking about.
Even address the question I asked you.
Let me finish. We'll get to the point illegal.
Let's go back to what I asked you. I asked you a question that the money that's going in, Americans prove that they don't trust the government getting the money than free market, free enterprise.
I don't think that's the case.
You never addressed that.
I don't think that's the case. People love Social Security. People love Medicare.
Expenditure. What did you learn with Doge? The American people said, Sam, enough of you taking our tax money and see what you're doing with it.
Elon Musk made that Wisconsin election of a referendum on Doge. To the extent that we've seen anybody vote on Doge, nobody heard the word Doge before November of last year.
True.
To the extent that we've seen a referendum on Doge, it just happened in Wisconsin. It happened in Florida, where the size of the win by those Republican congressmen was cut by 17, 20 points. I mean, this is a wipeout. And every Republican, you're going to see a difference in Republican lawmakers over the next year and a half, because anybody who was in a plus Trump 8 district or less is now starting to go like, wait a second. That's why Musk is being shown the door, supposedly. So getting back to my point about those Social Security numbers, they were given all to legal non-citizens. And every one of those cards, you can't vote, because I think you definitely said, and I think maybe you said, that this is a Democratic strategy to get voters. Hold on for a second. The Social Security card that they get literally says not legitimate for voting purposes. It is so that these non-citizens who are legal, just like when you came in, pay into the Social Security system.
You are that naive? What the fuck kind of answer is that? What?
Many of them never get that money back. So in addition to the undocumented immigrants who pay in $22 billion a year into Social Security and get zero back, these people pay several $billion in a year, and only if they become citizens, which most of them won't. Most of them will go back home. Over a period of time, they're here for temporary protected status. Maybe some of them are refugees and they get permanent citizenship. They won't get that money either. So every single thing of that video, this video here, was completely wrong that you guys did. It was fascinating because I feel like you, at the very least, I believe that you care about the information you're putting out. And this was all wrong. And
so they're up there. So Sam, this was all a lie. These guys were up there just completely bullshitting with all the numbers.
Yep. Total fucking liars. And show them the larger graph that shows this trend or whatever is bullshit. Remember what I told you. Remember the heuristic, guys. Remember. This will always serve you well for at least the next like 3 or 4 years, probably, okay? Any graph that purports to show a trend or tell you something that starts in 2020 or 2021 during COVID, you can almost always assume the exact opposite is true. There's an intentionality for why people are showing you data starting at that point, and it's because they're trying to fucking lie to you, okay? Which is why these guys need to be Nuremberged.
In the government, people in the government are blowing the whistles. He didn't want to say their names. He was giving them praise. And for you to say that you care about the kids and the labor and all that stuff. We've had an open border for 4 years, and all the illegals, way more than 10 million, have come into this country. California, is that where you live?
Oh my God.
Where do you live?
I live in New York.
Okay, great, even better. California. So the amount of money that we spent on illegals with housing and all that shit, and Gavin Newsom passing a law that you don't even need an ID to vote. You're saying that we're coming up with where these people aren't coming in for the votes?
Gavin Newsom, you don't need an ID to vote for. One, even if he did do that, there are other ways to verify voter identity for citizenship purposes. If you really want to do that, that's up to the states, right? I thought we were big states' rights guys. Number one. Number two, for state and local elections, you don't necessarily have to be a citizen to vote. It only matters when you're talking about federal elections. That's where you have to be a citizen to vote. Again, it's up to states to determine that. But remember, okay, don't forget, none of these guys actually care about states' rights or any of that shit at the end of the day. They only care about states' rights when it's the rights that they care about. That's always the case with these fucking hypocrites.
The main goal of this whole thing. What was the open border for? Why was the border open for 4 years? Answer me that question.
First of all, the border was not open.
Are you kidding me? Look at the. What do you mean the border wasn't open? Hold on. Did you smoke before you came in here? That's ridiculous.
By the way, Vinny, here's the part.
You're full of it, bro.
Here's the part. Sam, here's the part. When I hear this, okay.
Anybody can look at that video. The things you were saying yesterday was a complete sack of
See how many arguments they've pivoted to, right? Open border, illegal immigrants, right? They can't even deal with the factual claim, right? Which is, Sam is doing okay, but Sam needs to be more combative. He doesn't have to soy out or scream or whatever, but he needs to be like, can you acknowledge that this was incorrect? My favorite example of doing this in like a calm way, I'm not going to be able to find it, was after Luke completely laid Tim and his dipshits the fuck out.
Always been. The people have attacked.
It was him saying.
I think that was kind of my response. You said yes. I recognize the name. I said the point. You said yes. And all that, but on something I'm not prepared to talk about.
Fuck. What did he
say?
About what you're
sure. Derek Chauvin. I mean, like, what? Crazy.
Oh, this is called Tim Pool obliterates Luke Beasley. Fuck, they're not gonna have the quote.
There is Owen Schroyer, who
when at the end of the whole J6 thing, he just completely obliterated the entire 7 retards they brought to this thing. And he's like, hold on, before we move on, can you admit that you were completely and totally wrong about every single thing you just said or whatever? He did that. It was very calm. It was good.
Or just misinformation.
To be honest with me,
immigration year over year.
Sam,
illegal immigration year over year.
The fact that you're saying the border wasn't wide open. How many deaths have happened? How many fentanyl deaths have happened per year while your freaking president Joe Biden was in office? How many Americans died just from fentanyl?
How many fentanyl deaths happened when Trump was in office from 2016 to 2020? Are we blaming fentanyl deaths? People are ODing because of Biden now? What?
And you're saying the border wasn't wide open? We've had the most illegal entry in 4 years in the history of the country.
I also love how we are. I love how we're evaluating how effective the border policy has been based on how many people died of fentanyl.
This is why, let me finish. And this is why your party sucks. This is why your party is at 29% approval 20%. Because you got 20, thank you. Because all you guys do is talk shit and just go anti-Trump. You have no policies. You guys have no vision. You have no leaders. You're talking about oligarchs and you hate the oligarchs. Where do you think Bernie Sanders and AOC are going to get their money from? They're donors. Are you like?
Do you think this guy does coke off camera, or does he just do it before the show for the first 30 minutes to an hour so he could be hyped as fuck?
Don't lie to yourself. For you to look, by the way, you're talking about yesterday we lied.
AOC and Bernie Sanders don't take
Hold on, ready for this? You're saying that we lied 2 days ago. You just lied, and you're going to look like a fool that the border wasn't wide open. Look at this chart. What does that chart say to you? What is that? What did Trump, when Trump was in, he was trying to close it, but your party was fighting it. It's unbelievable how many illegals have come in the past 100 days.
But this is the part to just be very, just show the data.
It's unbelievable how many illegals.
Fuck, their camera cuts off the bottom part here, so I don't even know.
Have come in the past 100 days.
But this is the part to just be very, just show the data. Illegal immigration, this is Wall Street Journal, is a bigger problem than ever.
Oh, no, that's
These
fake
5
news.
charts explain why. Go a little bit
Also, that's okay. But
that's under Biden.
Trump got shot trying to show these charts, literally.
This is October of 2023. Go to the next one.
A guy who was registered Republican.
Here's another one.
Hold on, can I address what is
Holy shit, bro. This program is so fucking gross. Oh my God. It's actually disgusting the way that they run this shit. Holy fuck.
This is another one.
Okay, well, go back up to the.
And then go to the last one. Go to the last one.
Go to the top one.
I mean, this is the
numbers
you're talking about. So this is
start one by one. Go up.
Explain every one of them. Go
okay.
for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can see that this is what constitutes illegal immigration. These are, if it was an open border, you would not have these numbers. You would not have the numbers to know when Title 42 ends.
Yeah.
More people are coming to the border and they're being put into a system. Period.
That's the best part about it.
And that's the
because
definition.
they were told to come. Sam, let me say something. When you're president,
they can't even engage. This is such bullshit. God, fuck, these guys are so fucking cowardly. Imagine, does the audience perceive it? I can't tell. Can they tell? How much of a fucking pussy, every single one of these guys is? You bring a dude on to debate him. It's already fucking 1v4. And then you have to interrupt every single fucking time he opens his mouth. Let him get a point out. Jesus Christ.
Come to the country.
Yell all
no, I'm
time?
not yelling. You just give me facts.
Can I turn down his
He
mic?
can't even finish a fucking sentence.
You can't. Yeah, just see which one he is. I think he's seat 3 or which one is it, Rob?
Seat 3.
Seat 3.
C3. Go ahead. Lower that right there.
And then the mic.
Right there. There you go. Is that good? Is that good?
C2.
C2. There you go.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So
you're still going to hear the truth, though. Go ahead.
No, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Can't turn down the truth.
No, you can't.
Open border would mean that we have no records of people coming across the border. The law in this country has been that if you put your foot in this country, it's an international law, it's a U.S. law. If you put your foot in this country and you apply for asylum, you are due a process to do that. 98% of those people who are then what you guys would call catch and release come back for their hearings. We are woefully understaffed in terms of immigration judges, and that process is definitely broken. I would love to see more money spent in the processing of these people so that we can establish which ones, like your family.
Like my family as well, illegal immigrants.
No, but came in through a refugee status. They weren't citizens on day one. They came in, they went through a process. And it's possible at that time. I mean, I remember, I was old enough to remember the Iran hostage situation. I remember the fallout afterwards. There may have been some form of temporary protected status, whatever it was at the time, that allows people to come in. Then they're assessed and processed. It's determined that, yes, their claim for asylum is appropriate or not, et cetera, et cetera. That's what we're looking at there. As you scroll up on those other charts, you can see when Title 42 ends, which was only supposed to be an emergency situation that has to do with health, and you can't have it both ways. Either COVID ends or it doesn't end, the pandemic, and so people come in. There's no doubt, and that number on that chart that Musk had, under Biden, more people received temporary protected status. We had a problem in Haiti as the country has fallen apart. You had people from Ukraine coming in because of, obviously, the invasion. These are all under temporary protected status. They all got Social Security numbers so they could pay taxes into...
Miss Incognita, does Destiny even read the comments? No, I don't. 7-day him. Get him out of here.
Our government and not necessarily get the services back.
Yes, and vote for Democrats.
No, they can't vote.
Right.
Those Social Security cards literally say on the card say you can't use this for voting.
AOC said we don't have an illegal immigration problem. We have a documentation problem.
Notice how he just says that bullshit thing and then moves on.
That's what AOC said. So this is not something new. You know how when you talk about who's better at gerrymandering, the left or the right?
Republicans seem to be better at that.
The Republicans.
I know. I agree. Guess what? So it's not like they can fight it and say no, we're not. That's their reputation. They have it. They're better at gerrymandering. Strategically, they're better at doing that. But for you to sit here,
I don't have a problem.
May I make my
you
point? Let me make my point.
Oh my God.
When you sit here and you watch yourself when you're saying these policies and you spew out these policies, what the average person does, they'll watch it And if they've already outgrown it, because today the problem with, folks, content creators have today is the following. Say we say something on a video and we're wrong. You know what others will do? They'll react to it and they'll say stuff to it. And if we're right, they'll keep coming to us to want to hear more of it because they'll say, at least you sound reasonable. And they'll say, I want to hear what John has to say. I want to hear what Joe has to say. I want to hear what Megan has to say. I want to hear what, whoever these people are that are giving ideas out there want to say, right? But when you keep saying stuff that others are able to tear apart so many times that a former liberal watches that maybe was a viewer of you and says, how can Sam not see this and outgrow it? He is still stuck on this policy that's been proven. Americans don't want to pay more taxes to a government that wastes their taxes. How does he not see that? How does he keep pushing this agenda back and forth? Then you lose an audience, and the people you keep is the following. Here's who you end up keeping. You end up keeping an audience that makes you think you're right, but that's not always the case. You keep an audience that, of course, hates rich people. Rich people are bad people, and they're probably not making a lot of money, and they come to Sam to save them. Hey, let's trash and bash rich people because this is what we got to do. Yes, Sam, let's go after the rich people. But in reality...
Are you talking about me? Because we just had our biggest month. No, and when people
you had the biggest one because of Jubilee. You were on Jubilee and you were on that show.
We've been going back up.
No, you were on Jubilee and Jubilee gave you a lot of eyeballs. So Jubilee brought a lot of traffic to you.
A lot of people agreed. A lot of, I mean, a lot of people agreed.
Did more agree or disagree?
I would say a lot more agreed.
Well, you would say that because you're in it. Well, so for you,
I like how Sam can't even argue against the facts because they'll just say like, "Holy shit, what the fuck."
Want me to do metrics? We had our biggest subscription.
I believe you because Jubilee helped you.
Okay, but my point is that
credit. You should say thank you to Jubilee. That's a very
Jubilee.
Yeah.
I would also add that I think there are definitely people who watch my show and then over a period of time are going, I disagree with Sam, and proudly, those people move to the left of where I'm at.
You think people move to the left?
100%.
Sam, do you realize?
100%.
Do you realize how to make a statement? And I love that you said it.
Oh, it's true.
I love that you said it. So you think people who age and live longer, they go further to the left and to the right? You think as people mature in life...
Am I the oldest person on this?
No, you're not. But
I'm pretty close, I bet.
No, you're pretty far. It's just the other guy looks very young. But
How old are you?
He's 62.
You got me by 3 years.
Yeah, so you're not. So
you're 59, dude.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But do you think as people age, they become more conservative or more liberal, more leftist?
I think it changes with generations.
No, that's not the case. There is a evident more of one or the other. Do you think, like it's asking a question, do you think as we age, do our bones get stronger or weaker? They get weaker.
Well, right now, the youngest generation is very conservative, so that the trend wouldn't be correct right now. Sam would be correct on this point, but okay.
As we age, do we become more leaning? Okay, this is a chart. Perfect. Thank you for that. Pew Research. As we age, we become more conservative. But to you, the more you age, the more you become progressive and leftist. See, that's the part where Americans, as they age and go through, you may have a very young audience that finds you.
I think if you look at this chart, and first of all, you'll also notice that the dynamic shifts, right? If what you were saying was true, 70 to 79 would be greater Republican favor than 60 to 69. I don't know what to tell you. But
so
I will also tell you
what your shtick is. I'm getting your shtick.
I'm looking at the numbers. You put up this graph.
18 to 24 is 34. Then it goes to 32. Oh my God, they became more liberal because they went to college and they screwed up their brains. And then they go to 42, 47, 50, 50. Oh, they dropped to 51 and they go to 58. Nope, they're becoming more liberals at 70 to 79. Do you know why 70 to 79 become more liberal? Do you know why 70 to 79 becomes more liberal? Do you know why 70 to 79 becomes more liberal?
Now it's just all conjecture and baseless bullshit and okay.
Liberal?
Yes, because they're getting Social Security.
Exactly. So they got to protect it. So they're like, hey, man, at least, I agree. But still, at 80 plus, they're more conservative.
But
you know why 80 plus, they're more conservative?
I will also suggest to you that it has to do with the years that you grow up in.
It's the same thing I said to you last time.
People 50 to 59 grew up in a Reagan era, in a Thatcher era. And as in the wake of that, you can see that people are more progressive, increasingly.
Why did Charlie Kirk blow up so much the last 4 years? Specifically 18 months. Why did he blow up on TikTok out of all the places? How do you blow up on TikTok? Do you know he was the most viewed Jubilee out of all of them?
Did you see that?
I think so. Can you see how many views Charlie Kirk got on Jubilee?
But that's inconvenient. This is just absolute.
Why do you think Charlie Kirk blew up though?
I have theories.
I want to hear it.
How did he start? How did Charlie Kirk start?
I don't care how he started.
No.
How he's finishing. How did he blow up so much in the last 18 months?
Going to colleges, speaking in front of colleges? What do you mean?
Yeah, how did that TPUSA get started?
Tell us. Let's see what angle you're going
to. Going to college talking to
students. I actually want to hear what he says because I
want to see what angle, what shtick. God, is he so bad faith, dude? It's such a joke.
I'm watching these 2 times.
He got paid by a billionaire to start that organization.
Got it. So,
it's just the truth.
So there's no conviction.
Listen, there's
no conviction on what Charlie does.
No, I'm sure there's conviction on what Charlie does.
Why did Charlie do so in the last 18 months?
I mean,
why do you think a 20-year-old guy? Why is he blowing up the way that he is? Why is this?
Well, he's not 20. He's in his
28 years old, 29, 30 years old.
He's 30 now, but he started when he was 20.
Yeah, the last 2 years he was in his 20s. Why has he blown up so much?
I mean, I think there's a lot of money circulating on the right.
But he started when he was 18.
Forget the money.
Sam,
to go to college.
To blame it on the money. What about his voice, his reason, his rationale? He's compelling.
By the way, so here's a question. So you think if you got the same money Charlie got, you would have the same views?
Yeah, I think, I saw Milo Yiannopoulos on Tim Pool about a month or two ago talking about how the Daily Wire got so big. And he said, this is Milo Yiannopoulos. Well, he said,
Charlie's different than Daily Wire.
100%. Right. He said, in the right-wing content era, He said, we buy bots, we buy views. We buy. I mean, I knew. I'm telling you what Milo Yiannopoulos said.
Go ahead.
This is what he said.
This is
Pull
fantastic.
it up. And he said,
This is fantastic.
we fake it till we make it.
Oh my God.
And that's why he's non-existent anymore.
Sam,
He used to be a big voice. Now you don't hear nothing.
Sam,
about it.
respectfully, there's something called giving credit where credit is due. Regardless of where Charlie got his money. Hold on.
I don't care. Great. I'll give him credit. Charlie Kirk.
Okay, but it's,
You know what's funny? They say this, giving credit where credit is due. Oh, okay. What do you say about the fact that Midas Touch right now is like one of the largest podcast networks then? And then let's hear the excuses. Let's hear please bring up the Midas Touch people or whatever. Please.
But that's not where the credit is due.
What do you want me to say?
And I don't even know how much money he's made. The point is, he's motivated a lot of people. Yeah. That's where the credit should be done. He's changed the hearts and minds of people on campuses. He would arguably be the number one reason that Trump flipped Arizona.
Yeah.
To not give someone credit for the good work they've done and blame it on a billionaire.
Money flipped Arizona. You look at TPUSA played heavily in the Kari Lake race. So huge. And the widest loss they had was people under the age of 30.
Okay. So you don't want to give Charlie any credit.
No, I don't care.
But Sam, hold on.
Give him all the credit in the world.
Before being a nihilist,
I'll give him a trophy.
Sam, you've had. Let me just ask this question.
What does he want? He can take the.
Sam,
I don't think Charlie wants.
We're right here.
I don't think Charlie needs anything.
Yeah, Sam.
Well, I don't
Charlie
understand
won
why
on
this conversation-
TikTok.
So a
Sam, you
billionaire
just-
gives Charlie money and he automatically wins, okay? I got a question for you. Explain how Mark Benioff puts money into Time Magazine and it goes down.
I don't know who Mark Benioff is. And I haven't
Salesforce.
read Time Magazine and
Well, you should get around more. It's unfortunate. Come out of the echo chamber. Mark Benioff is one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time who used his money after his business success, and he went and he buys Time Magazine because he wants to push liberal views and values, and the thing craters.
He would love
Well, then me not
he's a billionaire.
Time
It should
Magazine
work.
Hit him up
would
for
be
money.
getting out of my
Hit him up for money.
my bubble, right?
Yeah, but you know what it is?
That's true.
Sam,
You gotta give
I
credit
like
for
to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I truly do. And I try to look at only when you can succeed in business and in life and in sales, like you're developing other people, is you have to always look at the best of everybody. You don't have a choice. As a parent, you have to always look at the best of your kids. You don't have a choice for them to do their best, right? And I truly want to look at you and look at it from the part of the best to say, capable, great communicator, temperament is solid. You go through it. I want to see all the good with you. But the part where you sit there and you realize some policies don't work.
What policies don't work?
Go to
name a policy that I support that doesn't work.
What do you think about
90% tax rates? I would start there.
Yeah.
Like I say, when we had those in this country, everybody can look this up. We had what was known as the Great Compression. It was the greatest expansion of our economy and the lowest wealth disparity.
I think the 90% tax rate argument is stupid. But if they're going to say they disagree with it, then you need to put an argument against it. Why is Sam wrong? Can somebody say why Sam is incorrect here? Did they even try?
We had in the history of this country. I don't know how you would define it anything other than a success.
Let me ask you a question. Let's stay right here on this 90%.
No, they don't. No, they're not. Oh, okay. Hold on. All right.
Tax 90%. So
top marginal.
Okay, I'm with you. So you get to keep 10%.
No. 10%
top
of every
margin,
dollar
of course.
after $4 million.
Okay. No. Well, here we go. I'm gonna ask you a question. Stay with me for a second. You just said you had a great month, great quarter, right?
Jubilee was a big help.
whatever it was.
Jubilee is billionaires.
Sure.
What the billionaires are charging?
How much additional profit revenue did you make in the last quarter because you went viral so many times? How much?
I mean, I don't know, but I would guess it's somewhere around tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands, so not millions, tens of thousands. No. Okay, so what are you going to do with that extra 30 grand, 100 grand? What are you going to do with it?
We're going to hire another person.
Oh, so you're going to expand?
Well, I don't know if we're going to expand, but I'm going to probably. I mean,
you're going to invest.
Well, I may invest into some of it.
You're not just going to bury it in the sand. You're going to use it.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Here's the problem.
So, we understand. This is the company.
I know Adam is a smart guy. I know Adam. I'm friendly with Adam. I just saw Adam like a week ago at his restaurant. If you invest the money, then you're not paying the 90% taxes. Adam's not about to make the argument that if we don't tax them, they'll invest the money, right? If anything, a tax to some extent is an encouragement to invest because you don't want to pay taxes on it. I hope Sam just lets him make the point. I feel like Sam is going to pre-head him off, but we'll see what he's going to say.
Invest into some of it.
You're not just going to bury it in the sand. You're going to use it.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Here's the problem.
So, we understand. This is the company. These are pre-tax dollars. When I say 90 cents.
Oh, fuck. Sam should have let him make the dog shit argument. Fuck.
It's on every dollar. I'm talking individual tax. So
these ideas
this is not
these
about
ideas
corporate tax. It wouldn't impact anything you're saying about the business, but go ahead.
But we're talking about taxes in general.
No. There's a difference between personal
Oh, see, now Adam, he was going to make that point. Now I had to back off. Fuck. Sam should have let him make that argument.
taxes and corporate taxes.
Well, if you have an S corp, it flows through to the individual, so it's the same thing. How are you registered with the?
If you have an S corp and it flows through the individual, it doesn't matter. You could do it on a I don't remember the schedule. It's something to my own taxes, but it doesn't matter. Your LLC can still take deductions, or if you're even a sole proprietor, you can take deductions. Whether you have an S corp, LLC, or you're just your own shit, you still have write-offs for reinvestment. It doesn't matter. It literally makes no difference.
It's
an S corp.
Oh, it's pre-tax
flows through to you.
It's pre-tax dollars.
That's literally what it does.
It doesn't matter if it flows through to you. You don't think an individual that does flow through taxes can't take a tax deduction? Doesn't have business expenses? What are you talking about? On a S corp LLC, you still have an 1120S. You still account for all of your expenses. Please, somebody, just one person that's ever filed their own taxes, please, one time, show up on this show. Please, God, please, one time. Sam should just ask him that. Oh, I'm sorry. LLCs with an S corp election don't get expenses? Is that what you're saying? Just ask that question, please. One time.
It's the same as individual, but respect to you. But you
No, don't let him get away with that. Oh, God. Oh, my God. It's such a stupid fucking point. It's such a stupid fucking point. If you have a pass-through entity generally they're not federally recognized. It's just a thing where the business doesn't pay taxes. It all flows through to your 1040. So as an individual, you pay taxes. That doesn't mean that you can't write off expenses, though, which is exactly what Sam was talking about.
Making money and getting rich. You're okay with that.
Honestly, I'm a little disappointed it was only tens of thousands of dollars. I wish it was millions of dollars. I wish the best for you. But here's the problem. You can't tax your way to making everybody wealthy.
No, I'm not taxing my way to making everybody wealthy. I am taxing understand, the 90% tax rate on every dollar after 4 million is to deal with wealth disparity in this country, because I believe the more you concentrate wealth, the more you concentrate political power.
Why 4 million?
And I believe in democracy.
Why 4 million?
Just because that's what we had for 15, 20 years in this country. I mean, it was 470,000 in 1940.
I'm just because I'm a student of history and I really appreciate Ronald Reagan. Do you know the Reagan story of why he ended up running for governor and for president? Do you know the whole tax story? Let me give it to you real quick.
The story of GE sending him around to fight against Medicare.
Okay, but that's not the story we're talking about. The tax story that Ronald Reagan basically was like, holy crap, because everything with taxes has to do with incentives and motivation. So the story with Reagan was the following. The top marginal tax rate back in the 40s and 50s, when Ronald Reagan, before he became a governor, he was a famous what? Actor. There we go. We're on the same page. Was $200,000. And the equivalent of $200,000 today is $2.5 million. So at $200,000, the top marginal tax rate was your favorite number?
90%.
90%. We're going somewhere. So do you know his famous quote? I'll do 2 movies a year. I get paid $100,000 per movie. Tell me why I should go make a 3rd movie. Because if you're going to tax me at 90%,
and you know what?
You shouldn't.
You've seen
exactly.
Movies. We didn't.
No, don't go there, guy. Don't go there, guy.
I don't know what to tell
Top
you.
numbers.
If you don't want to, don't make it.
Stop it. The reason he wouldn't make the movie is because he would only keep 10%. He said famously, "I can make freaking Gone with the Wind. I wouldn't keep any of the money." It has to do with.
I don't believe that actors make decisions like this. You probably do because you love acting, because there's future opportunities available to you. There's other ways that you could invest this money. Like I don't know if I believe, but whatever, maybe.
You said shtick. Carrots and sticks. If you don't incentivize people, if you don't incentivize entrepreneurs, why would they work harder?
Okay.
Why would they invest? You just had a great incentive. You killed it. You made.
Why would they work hard? Why would they invest? I mean, you don't. Well, maybe he's saying at the end of the day, the amount of money that you earn would be that great. At the end of the day, it's kind of true. This 90% marginal tax is such a dumb idea. Fuck, I wish Sam didn't believe in this stupid lefty shit. The 90% marginal tax is way too high. It's stupid. 90%, really?
Tens of thousands of dollars.
I'm going to take your metaphor.
Do something with that money.
So what happens when Ronald Reagan gets to that threshold of the wealthiest of the wealthy in the country? Because that's what it takes, right? To be making $4 million a year. That puts
no. You're making up $4 million like a floozy.
2.5.
It's 200,000. Yeah, let's use that 2.5. That's what the correlation is. Yes.
So if you're making $2.5 million a year, that places you in the top 1 or 2%, I would imagine, maybe even smaller.
Top 2%? That's $4 million a year, bro. Pretty sure. Isn't top 1%? Is it $350,000 a year or something? Did you say $2 million a year would put you in the top 2%? Jesus. Sorry.
We're making $2.5 million a year. That places you in the top 1 or 2%, I would imagine, maybe even smaller.
It's less.
0.5%.
Yeah, top 1% is about $600,000, $500,000.
Okay. So you're in the top 0.5% of the
Just
country.
like you're in the top 1% of a podcaster.
Right.
You're doing great.
Top 0.5%. What happens when Ronald Reagan decides, I'm only going to make 2 movies a year, is you get an opportunity to be that actor. And then somebody else gets the opportunity to make that money.
So shittier actors get more opportunities. It sounds like DEI.
No, it's not. Believe me, I've been out in L.A. The best actors don't necessarily get every role. And so it gives an opportunity to spread the wealth. And
It's
that's
about
exactly what
centralized subjective fairness on the altar of greed and jealousy. That's what it is. Because it's not fair that all of these people worked their ass off and did and achieved something. We have to stop them and go get someone else.
Oh, my God.
Who maybe isn't working hard, because it's so unfair.
Are you telling me that
they
there
got
aren't
something.
enough hardworking actors who get
No, stop changing it. That's your stick. That's your stick, dude. No, it's not.
what you're saying
I'm asking you a question. It's about greed and jealousy, isn't it? So the greed that you attack is the greed that you have. You're sitting there. These people must have been greedy. They got all this money and everything, and you're envious and you're greedy for their money. So we're going to take it from them. It should be 90%. They'll keep making. Oh, but that's good because now we've stopped them from making good movies.
I think it's pretty obvious to everybody how jealous I am of all of you.
No, it's not.
Your point
please go ahead.
about incentives. That is why Ronald Reagan brought in Arthur Laffer. And you know
the Laffer curve. Yes, of course.
Explain it. Laffer curve says that the higher you go up on taxes, the least incentive there is for people to make money.
Yeah. Or to try harder, or to earn more and work harder and stay late and be an entrepreneur and try to build something.
Exactly.
Go on.
But the lower you have taxes, you can actually lower taxes and you'll get more revenue because these people are going to actually be more incentivized because they get to keep more. Arthur Laffer was the key advisor to Sam Brownback when he became governor of Kansas in 2012. You can look this up. People just have to Google Sam Brownback, Kansas, 2012. What happened with the Great Kansas Experiment? He did exactly what Arthur Laffer said. He slashed taxes for S corps, etc. Within, I think it was 2 or 3 years, the Republican legislature rose taxes because revenues had cratered so badly, and they had so destroyed what was once the jewel of Kansas, their education system, their higher education system. They rose taxes. Okay. Well, there you go.
He's such a supremely amazing debater, bro. This is one of the most advanced debate shows I've ever seen in my life. Like, say, are you naive? Are you serious? Listen to how PBD like so effortlessly destroys Sam's point here. Yeah. Listen to him. He annihilates him. Sam has no chance.
Slash taxes for S corps, etc. Within, I think it was 2 or 3 years, the Republican legislature rose taxes because revenues had cratered so badly, and they had so destroyed what was once the jewel of Kansas, their education system, their higher education system. They rose taxes. Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, there it is. Kansas provides compelling evidence of the failure of supply-side tax cuts, which is exactly what you're advocating.
Do you know how many case examples I can show of cutting taxes helps states, helps companies, help people?
Please show me one.
How do you think this company that we're sitting? Hold on.
Try that. Make him. He just said that. He just said, you know how many times I could show you where this? Show one. I don't know how many times. Apparently the answer is 0. Make him show one, Sam. Don't let him back off this. Don't let him back off this. Don't let him back off this.
Sam, hold on. Google this. You want to throw out some? How do you think this company right here?
Let him say that and respond to it. Okay. So, for example, where are we at right now? What state?
Florida.
Okay. Can you tell me why, out of all the 50 states in America in 2024 that voted for president, why did 50 for 50 state become more Republican? Can you tell me why, out of 50 states that voted for president in 2024, can you tell me why the 2 states that lost the most people, the only 2 states in America...
Notice how we don't have an actual response. Now we're just going to go to some other pivot conjecture point. Good one.
Lost $1 trillion of money under management that left their states to another state like Nevada, Texas, and Florida. Can you tell me why those 2 states, imagine, New York and California, during COVID, lost $1 trillion of wealth that left to other states. And even after all those people that left, the 2 states that became more Republican than they were before in 2020 were New York and Texas. Can you tell me why people come to Texas? Why do people go to Nevada? Why do people go to Florida? Why do you think it is? Is it because maybe they don't have state taxes? Why do you think Arthur Laffer's in Tennessee? Why do you think Musk is in Texas? Why do you think Rogan went to Texas? Why do you think California's losing so many jobs?
I think
it's
there
because
are
of high
people
taxes?
who like to evade taxes, sure.
It's evade taxes. So you see, but guys, let me, Sam, respectfully, I just figured out who you are. I'm telling you, I just figured out who you are. Deep down inside of you, you are driven by so much power, control, a deep-rooted feeling matching the qualities of a communist that wants to tell you what to do, and you think you know what's best for others, and if it isn't your way, everybody else is wrong. And by the way, an extremely unattractive quality,
I'm literally
but
just
very,
advocating for higher taxes on super wealthy people.
No, you're not, because what you just said, what you just said, let me just make a point here. You just said people who left California and New York, your first response was they're evading, as if they have to pay you. That's not how this works. They're evading taxes. These guys are tax evaders. They left. No, it's called if a company offers better benefits. Are you on Rumble?
I think we stream on Rumble.
Where do you put your video clips the most? YouTube.
YouTube.
Why YouTube?
That's just what the technology was when we started.
Why don't you do it on Vimeo?
We do run it through Vimeo.
Why don't you do all your stuff through Vimeo? Why do you do it on YouTube?
That's where the most people are.
And that's where they pay the best.
Well, that's where we have the most audience. But
you're evading the revenue going to another company. You're such an evader of sponsorship money going to another company that keeps more money of it. You're such an evader. Why are you evading all this sponsorship money? You're such a sponsorship money evader. Sam Seder's a sponsorship money evader, everybody. Come on, man.
I'm a sponsorship evader. Yeah. What is it?
What did you call it? No, you call people leaving California tax evaders.
See, that's the part. I think there's a lot of people who leave high tax states for low tax states.
Is that evading, or is that just common sense?
You want to call them tax evaders?
I mean, if you want, if they're going for tax reasons, then they're trying to.
There's also a lot of people that go to lower cost restaurants versus higher cost restaurants. There's people that shop at H&M versus shopping at Gucci.
Better opportunity.
It's called saving money.
Situations.
If I have to be under someone's watch, like a dictatorship quality like you that thinks you know what's best for others.
You think I'm a dictator?
Financial dictator.
The way you are, when you feel, your first answer was a tax evader. That's how you view them. You don't view them as a asset to the state. You see them as criminals. You just called entrepreneurs that live in New York and California as criminals. Is tax evader a criminal? Rob, can you pull up what a tax evader is?
Oh, now he's going to nail Sam on the technicality. Sam was incorrect. It's not tax evasion, it's tax avoidance. Although I would, if I'm not being bad faith. Dude, the fact that he even knows the difference between tax evasion, which is illegal, and tax avoidance, which is just tax optimization, he knows that the thing about that was said earlier about flow-throughs and S-corps, that was a fucking lie. God, he's such a disgusting fucking loser. God, he's so gross. Oh my God.
Type in tax evader synonym. Tax evader synonym. What are some tax evader synonyms? Can you go to tax evader synonyms for also tax dodger, tax fraud, tax avoidance? You're calling these people criminals.
A person who tries to avoid paying taxes, often through illegal means.
But somebody who
oh, they have it up here. Yeah, Sam should have used this. Tax avoidance is the legal use of tax laws to reduce one's tax burden, whereas tax evasion is the illegal attempt to defeat the imposition of taxes. Tax avoidance is what everybody should be doing. Tax evasion is legal.
So I left California because
I'm sorry. I should have said tax avoiders.
Right. Okay. So tax evaders. Right.
Avoiders.
It's called.
Are we good with tax avoiders?
It's called better opportunities.
Am I a better person?
Sam, you're also a tax avoider.
Better opportunities.
Because if you have an S corp, you have what is called as write-offs.
Oh, that's such an
so you don't. So like when you do write-offs.
Do I do?
I already know the answer. Of course you do.
Write-offs.
Wait, but if he can do write-offs, so even he knows. Oh, so Adam lied earlier when he said it's a flow-through. Right, or pass-through entity, which it is because the money flows through to your TED 40. So even Adam knows that you do get write-offs on your fucking S corp, bro. I can't. These people.
So you write it off. Why you avoided taxes, bro?
Why would you do such a thing, Sam? You're a tax evader.
It's on the
shame on this guy for writing off taxes.
Here's something.
Call the feds.
Here's something that
you probably have an accountant helping you.
He does. Sam, here's something that I've learned. It's okay to say the following. You ready? Man, I might have been wrong on that one.
I just conceded.
In anything.
I should have said
I'm
tax
just saying in anything. Because where growth happens is when you be like, yeah, when you grow. I remember the most amount of money I ever made was in 2016. I was like, oh my God,
like
I'm a millionaire now. It's a tax therapy session. I was like, oh my God, I'm paying all this taxes. I don't like this.
And I created an S corp. Me about this?
Wait, before we hear the answers, hold on. Is there any way to get these to automatically replenish ammo? Or do I have to like belt these out?
Is that like, I'm talking about policies that impact the country. I'm talking about the implications of taxation on the top 0.5%, top 1% of this country.
Who pay 50%
and it is boiled
of
down
taxes, Sam?
to you guys saying that I'm a bad person.
No.
I
actually think you're a great person with bad ideas.
I don't care about like any of you as individuals.
Same boat as us.
I don't care about me. Exactly.
I'm talking about
policies. And when we get into policy, I notice how this all pivots. And I don't blame you because, frankly, if you tell the American public, and maybe not this audience, because this audience is built on your on your business, around your business doings and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if you tell the American public that they're getting fleeced and they are losing political power to money, they react like they did in Wisconsin. They basically reject it. And so that is
what happened in November
the message
5th,
I'm carrying.
What happened on November 5th?
Those people didn't come out. They came out to vote for Donald Trump because Donald Trump is a character that they like.
Why didn't they come out in 2020? Oh.
Why didn't they come out? Because Donald Trump was very close to their experience. And I have a feeling in 2024, they'd also vote him out if he tries to run again.
Can you imagine? Like, you had 4 years of a guy. His name is Donald Trump. Then this motivational speaker named Joe Biden shows up. Okay, and he fills up the arenas. And he wins. Every time he spoke, 200,000-300,000 people would show up to just hear this man give a speech. Like one of those.
No, that's the thing. Biden was a complete just placeholder for not Donald Trump.
This guy gets up there and he crushes Trump. And you guys are like, oh, he got so destroyed. Crushes Trump. Look at the way Biden beat Trump. People don't want a person like Trump. And then America watched all the policies that you support. Biden comes president. He does what he does. 4 years later, his vice president, his VP, Kamala Harris,
Google antitrust and see how popular it is.
His VP runs for office, loses every battleground state, 89 count, 50 for 50 states become more Republican. And you're sitting here saying you guys think you got better policies?
No, I think Kamala Harris is, I mean, I think it was what Biden did in staying in was atrocious. He should have gotten out way earlier. There was a story coming out now of like Ron Klain seeing him before the debate, realizing the guy was a mess. And I think Harris's campaign was also poorly run. I think that, nobody could tell what her policies were. Mark Cuban's going out there saying, we're going to get rid of... But I agree. Mark Cuban's coming out there saying, like, oh, don't worry, she's not going to do any more of this antitrust stuff. On one hand, I don't want a billionaire coming out and speaking for my candidate.
Did you vote for her or did you set that one out?
No, I voted for her.
You voted for Kamala? Why? Just because I hold
on. Dangerously base. Thank you for that, at least, Sam. Thank you.
You guys
voted for the lesser of two evils.
That is what policy were you going for? What do you think that she was going to do different? What can you possibly? I would rather have you sit that one out, Sam. Go ahead.
I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
She was not going to cut Social Security functioning. She's not going to
just talk about what's happening today. She wasn't going to invoke the Alien Enemies Act to fucking deport people with no due process. She wasn't going to sign executive orders naming individual fucking law firms because she was so ass-pained about criminal investigations into her. She wasn't going to randomly and arbitrarily enact tariffs against every fucking country on the planet. Like,
cut the USDA. She's not going to cut the FDA. She's not going to lose us $500 billion worth of return on investment with the IRS. She's not going to cut the Bureau of Labor Statistics. She's not going to cut
investment.
Return on investment.
Investment. What do you think the IRS does? Theft? Oh, all taxes are theft? I'm sorry, we're 2 years old?
dollar that you give to the IRS, we get 6 or 7 back. She's not going to cut the museum and library.
Say that?
Google it. Every dollar spent at the IRS gets 6 back in return. They're anticipating the cuts from Doge. The cuts from Doge are going to cost our government $500 billion.
According to who?
Studies suggest.
All right, I undersold it a little bit.
According to who?
Okay, well, you can spend time attacking the people.
According to who? He's going to say according to the government. How else do you think the government makes its money? Who do you think collects money? What do you think the IRS's job is?
We'll do these calculations. Do you need me to tell you more about why?
Well, I'm just curious. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Just rando tariffs applied in a willy-nilly fashion that crash the economy.
So you don't think that?
Wait, you don't need belts for the turrets. Just place some ammo in it, and it'll autofill it going forward. Is that true?
Tariffs that Trump is, and I get it. That's exactly the tariffs are exactly what America needs right now. Because let's just go to the border. What he did with the border with Mexico, with the tariffs, what happened to fentanyl? What happened to all the deaths? What happened to all those illegals that are? What do you mean? He threatened them, and they went.
Fentanyl comes across the border at ports of entry. Fentanyl comes across the border, not in illegals crossing the desert. It comes in.
Oh, really? Coyotes?
It comes in. It comes in at ports of entry.
That is true, actually. I believe the vast majority. I thought it was like 80% plus coming through ports of entry. Yeah.
Google that.
Sam, I don't need to Google when it's like
yes, you do.
You said you voted for someone. You're coming up with these policies. The worst pick ever. The biggest loss ever. She lost everything because your side. You're talking about people. Wait, let me ask you a question. You're acting like your whole side was surprised that Biden wasn't there. Everybody knew, including you, he wasn't there at all. But you guys are like, he's just not Trump. The worst president in the history of the world, this country, 4 years, because you guys were pretending that he was all there and we knew it. And who was making all the decisions? Who was making all the decisions? Who was signing all the shit? Who was signing off? How many times did you have to see Biden sitting there and they'd ask him a question and he'd go, oh, I can't because they told me I couldn't. He wasn't in charge.
Who?
Yeah, who was they? Come on, Sam. It's like the most devastating loss. The world, the country is over it. You guys aren't pivoting, okay? And if you think the future is Gavin Newsom, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Jasmine Crockett, you guys are doomed. Nothing is going to change. And Elon Musk, you think Elon Musk is a net positive or net negative for society for what he's doing?
He literally is unpopular as fuck. They're ditching this autistic aspy fuck because of how horrible everything in Wisconsin went. Literally nobody likes him. You guys are going to be probably shitting on him in a couple of months.
Pointing out what the hell these people have been screwing us for all these years, and he's pointing out. You guys are mad at the person pointing out who robbed from you than the actual robber. That's the truth, bro. Yeah, he's a billionaire. You think he's doing it because he needs the money?
What fraud has he found?
What do you mean? How much fraud has he found?
Yeah, where's the person who is going to be indicted for fraud?
Well, what about the waste?
What waste?
Because it's not. Stop it, Sam.
What waste? They just cut the
they just cut things they don't like.
Cut the agency that provides $295 million to museums and libraries. You appreciate libraries, don't you? I know how much reading is important to you.
Sam, you're pinpointing the one good thing that they probably did.
Wait,
what about the waste of countries all around the world for LGBTQ agendas in Rwanda or something?
The money you're talking about
do you want money going to
a fraction of a percentage. And if we wanted to get rid of that money, there is a way of doing it, and that is to have Congress vote and reverse
what
they authorized in the first place.
Yeah.
But to have a billionaire come in and decide, based upon what his personal preferences are, that he's going to cut government in this way, I'm sorry, that's not democracy. It's not even remotely close to it.
He doesn't have the power to do anything. He makes a suggestion,
why do you think
and the administration will do it.
Why do you think Americans voted for
I don't think Americans heard the word Doge outside of it being some type of cryptocurrency before.
Why do you think Americans voted for Trump?
Well, I think because they want change.
And what were they not happy with?
I think inflation was a big part of it for them.
What else do you think?
I think for a 90% of his voters voted for Mitt Romney. I think there is the Republican Party wants to have tax cuts.
How do we get inflation? How does inflation?
Can we stay in 2024? You said inflation.
Give me 1 second. How does inflation happen?
Inflation can happen in a couple of different ways. Inflation can happen because you have too much monetary supply. Inflation can happen in terms of both from a monetary supply level or a fiscal stimulus.
Right.
And inflation can also happen if you have a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic that completely screws up all of your logistics. And so you've got shipping containers that usually cost $4,000 to ship, but now they cost $22,000 to get because they're in far-flung places because the pandemic.
That was in 2021. That was in 2021.
Well, it reverberates through the thing. We saw inflation dropping through 2024.
Sure.
We saw rate cuts on the table because we saw inflation dropping.
Do you think any of it was with again? So those are the main 2 issues. You don't think anything else. So you mainly think it was inflation, and your second point was.
I think in large part we have structural problems in this country, and that's why we keep getting change elections where we keep.
Sam should fight on the other thing. Tell me what it is. Is it giving money out to people? Oh, how did you feel about the paycheck protection program then? How did you feel about the first stimulus checks that went out? How did you feel like about the unemployment insurance? So when Trump did it, it was okay.
Keep going back and forth. I would say those structural problems range from. I think a lot of them have to do with wealth inequality.
Okay, so you think Democrats are better at helping wealth inequality or Republicans?
I think Democrats are marginally better.
Tell me, due to what policy?
Well, taxation helps. That's a big part. Strengthening labor. I think during Biden, I have a lot of problems with Biden, but
where 6% of the workers work from home. Yeah. So
strengthening labor strength in the marketplace helps with wealth inequality. I think antitrust goes a long way to wealth inequality because it literally is to break up the concentration
here's the
of
other
wealth.
question for you. So Trump's closed up the border, right? Where we are not getting like this. Numbers have dropped dramatically.
Well, I mean, if you go back and look and I don't necessarily agree with Biden doing this, but if you go back and look at the numbers starting in the summer of 2024, maybe a little bit before.
Stop it.
I'm sorry. Just put it out there. I'm not in favor of him doing this.
Stop it. He's so effeminate. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Like he's about to put his hand on his thigh and try to stroke his fucking Jewish dick. God, I hate this guy so much. Oh my God, I actually can't handle listening to this dude. They can't counter a single thing that he says. They literally can't counter. It's like, oh no, you're so naive. Stop it. Really? You believe that? God, it's the most cringe fucking show in the world. Holy shit.
Wait, put up the graph of
So you mean an election year? An election year?
No, there is no graph. Fuck that. We're gonna do our talking points. Between the four of these guys, how many gigs of like trans porn do you think these guys download a month onto their fucking computers? Like,
let me just get through this. And guys, here's what I'd like to do.
I'm not in favor of this.
I'd like to get through some stories, but I just want to close the knot here and move on because we're not going to make any
see if you can get a
progress
graph of that.
Rob, if you just want to show up graph on immigration from 2021, 22, 23, is that the chart you want to see? What do you want to see?
Let's see the one over the past. You said he dropped it dramatically in January, and I'm suggesting if you look at the past 12 months.
No, it's okay. Rob, do me a favor, find the chart on immediately when Trump comes in, what happens to illegal immigration in America. While you're doing that, here's a question for you. 10 million illegal immigrants came through the border in 4 years under Biden.
Way more.
What's the number of undocumented immigrants you think we have in this country right now?
What I'm asking is those 4 years. How many do we have during those 4 years?
That came
through that we have according to credible sources. What's the number you hear?
That are in the country now, or
that
actually
came
just
through
crossed?
illegally during those 4 years.
Oh, I would imagine it's probably close to like 5, 6, maybe to 10 million.
Let's say 10 million people.
Tom Homan said 10 million.
Let's say it's 10 million. Let's say it's 10 million, but give or take 2 million. Let's just say it's 10 million, the number. Okay. Those 10 million people that are coming here, are they rich?
No. The vast majority of them, I would say.
Are poor, right? Okay, that they're coming here. Who does that benefit? They're going to need jobs, right? And what are they willing to work for?
Oh, I think they're going to get exploited, without a doubt, if that's where you're going with this.
So let me get this straight. So who do they benefit? Do they benefit larger corporations that get cheap labor?
They benefit, yeah.
So let me get this straight.
Processing plants.
Oh my God.
Whatnot.
Everybody benefits. Oh my God.
Oh, that's why I want them to have documents. Right? Let them come to the border. Give them documents so that they can get worker protections.
So then, if that's the case, you know what that validates? Joe Biden and the Democratic policies are better for the billionaires than Trump's are because they brought in cheap labor, and that cheap labor helps who? Helps the rich.
I am in favor of a path to citizenship that is much easier.
And by the way, those 10 million people that came here illegally, give or take.
And that was in that bill that they suggested in the fall of 2023 that Trump said he didn't want because he wanted to keep it as an issue.
Who do those 10 million people take jobs away from? Who do they take jobs away from?
It's a zero. Bro, this is the most financially illiterate podcast I've ever seen in my life. It's a zero-sum game. It's again, when somebody comes and gets a job, they take it away from someone else. Do you know what our unemployment rate is? Do you know what ideal unemployment is? Do you know, like, it's like, I can't, dude. How much longer? I don't know how much longer I can listen to this.
Away from?
I don't know that they take jobs away from that many.
Really?
No.
Really?
We are at, in 20 years ago, we were told that the lowest unemployment that it was possible to have with a functioning economy was what? Do you remember?
Oh my God, he's actually asking a basic econ question. For the lowest to have a functioning, I think ideal is 5%. Well, I don't know what the lowest is, but okay, at least we're getting because this fucking retard wants to say 0% probably. Yeah.
We were told that the lowest unemployment that it was possible to have with a functioning economy was what? Do you remember? It was something like 6 to 8%. And now our unemployment is at 4%.
Pretty high.
And so
it was lower than that before.
I continue.
You're not answering the question, though. Who do those people take jobs away from?
I have answered it. I think largely they don't take jobs away from
they
people.
don't? Hang on. Perfect. I love what you just said. You think they don't take jobs away from anybody. Perfect. So if we go and we look at when China started trading, let me make the point. When China came...
I can't. Okay, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Real quick. When I'm putting this request in from up here, where is this request being sent to? This unfulfilled request. What is it requesting from? Where's it being sent to?
Came through and was able to bring labor to us, 1971. It was called a ping pong agreement that they had where, we can send labor there. And labor at the time was 8 cents to 20 cents an hour, where for us minimum wage was $1.60. Then in 2001,
to your
when the Clinton policies helped China...
On the plane. On the plane? Set rocket silos to auto and then bots will fill it up. Okay, so... automatically request from, this is from space platforms, but how do I request? Oh. I can't see what's being requested up at that platform down here though? Okay, never mind. Whatever. Okay.
China joined the World Trade Organization, and at the time, minimum wage in China was 20 cents to 50 cents, depending on different regions, and for us was $5.15. We lost 6 million manufacturing jobs, give or take the next 7 wage in China. Then in 2001, when the Clinton policies helped China join the World Trade Organization, and at the time, minimum wage in China was 20 cents to 50 cents, depending on different regions, and for us was $5.15. We lost 6 million manufacturing jobs, give or take the next 7 years. Michigan, you got Indiana, you got all these other places. Where did those jobs go to? Who did they replace?
Why is he comparing jobs in another country to domestic competition for labor? Well, what the fuck is he talking about? Hello?
Who lost those jobs? What happened
All that
to Detroit?
manufacturing went to China.
And that's fine. Okay. How many jobs have gone to China then? How many jobs have we quote unquote lost to China? How is our unemployment rate? 3.5%, 4%. Did we get them all back? Explain what happened there. That should be Sam's next question. Set request on platform. Rocket would show what is currently being fulfilled, but bot network handles it. Request only handles. Okay.
You got all these other places. Where did those jobs go to? Who did they replace? Who lost those jobs? What happened
All that
to Detroit?
manufacturing went to China.
That's right. So what do you think these 10 million people that come here, who are they going to take jobs away from? Americans who are here legally. Those jobs are going to go to somebody that's cheap labor.
That was the movement of capital. Capital decided that it was cheaper for them to move to
I'm specifically talking about last 4 years. So when you're saying labor is not going to be taken from people in America, that's the credibility you lose. That's where people in 2000... Rob, can you play the clip with Stephen A. Smith, who has been a staunch supporter of the Democratic Party for decades? And now Stephen A. Smith is being called as a member of MAGA. You know, Rob, we can't play the whole thing. Can you go to the main part? Do you know the main part or no?
I do. Right after he reads this is when he responds.
Okay, let's see what he says, Rob. Go for it.
This guy, dude. Real quick, is this going to automatically launch when the request is fulfilled? Or can I make it wait until it's full? You seem to be the only one that ever brings up the unemployment rate. What is happening there? The problem is like just nobody has like a high school level understanding of literally any fucking topic. I don't know what the background is of anybody that gets into doing online political commentary or whatever. Like 90% of the information that I talk about literally just comes from fucking high school. I didn't even do honors econ in my class. I was in the retard, or I don't know. I don't think there was an AP. No, I think there was AP econ. I didn't even take honor any of that. It was just a normalized fucking high school econ class. Like nobody has any fucking idea about any basic concept. It's just so cringe.
This Owens, Sean Hannity, and other prominent voices from the right on this podcast as reasons for his premise. Here's a portion of what he wrote on MSNBC.com in an article titled ESPN Stephen A. Smith is a megaphone for MAGA propaganda. Jones says, quote, Stephen A. Smith's embrace of the MAGA movement and its influencers has only continued. In recent days, for example, he has spoken with right-wing commentators Ben Shapiro, Megyn Kelly, and Bill O'Reilly. You might be thinking that these were adversarial chats between a left-leaning centrist and a conservative. But to adroit listeners, they can come across more as conservatives in friendly discussion than anything else. Smith's overt politicism seems to fly in the face of ESPN's apparent effort in recent years to deter some of its talent from speaking on controversial political matters. Either way, the network's most recognizable host is now regularly platforming MAGA propaganda at will, end quote. Now, my team reached out to Jones to have a discussion about the article. I wanted to invite him on the show to talk with me one-on-one personally. I hope we get the opportunity to have that dialogue. He was busy. He didn't avoid a call or anything like that. There was no comment or anything like that. He didn't say anything. He was just very, very busy. I hope we called it the last minute. No shade on him. That's why it didn't happen. But in the meantime, let me express to you what I think about what he wrote. I think that's the exact problem with the left. You see, if I don't agree with you, I must be MAGA. It must be the case. I'm platforming MAGA propaganda. Is that so? I don't view it that way. First of all, even though I lean left, particularly with how I vote with presidential elections, I want to emphasize that I've always been a centrist my entire life. I've never once described myself as a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a centrist. I'm a moderate. I don't trust either side. I'm not on one side or the other, hook, line, or sinker. You will see images or you'll hear me rattle off names of people who've been on this show. Yes, you see Ben Shapiro there. Yes, you see Bill O'Reilly there. Yes, I was recently on Megyn Kelly's show. Did you know I'm on News Nation with Chris Cuomo every week? Did you know that I just appeared with Jake Tapper on CNN? Do you know I've been on MSNBC on several occasions? Do you know?
You can pause.
Yeah, Sean.
So, do you know what happens when a guy like Stephen A. Smith, he said he's always voted left when it comes down to presidential candidates that he has. So he's not a guy that voted for Trump, right? When a guy like him comes out and he says, what the hell is going on with the Democratic Party?
Is that what he's saying there?
He said it you must not follow what he says, because he has said that nonstop the last 2 months, 3 months.
I don't follow what he
You
says.
should. He's actually very good. He's reasonable. It would be good for you to watch. I like his approach. I think he's a...
Do you guys identify as MAGA?
No.
You guys identify as Muslim?
Here's my question. Can I ask you a question?
But he seems to think it's an insult.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Make America great again. It shouldn't be. If you want to make America great again, I'm all in. Call me MAGA all freaking day.
I'm MAGA. I'm MAGA. I just want to make America great.
He seems to take it as an insult.
No, I am America first. I'm America first. I voted for Trump in 2016. I voted for him 2020. In 2022, when people were leaving to the DeSantis camp, I stayed on the Trump camp. I've never been off that camp. He's the right guy for America, and I've been a registered independent now for about 17 years.
What do you think about these tariffs?
Oh, man. Sam should ask him, Sam should ask him if he would run for a third term, if he would vote for him. I feel like you should ask him that. I'm trying to think of what he would say. I feel like he would say, well, I feel like he wouldn't answer the question. I actually don't think he would answer the question. I wonder if that'll come up.
No, stay on this topic here with Stephen. We'll go to tariffs next.
What is the topic? Oh my God!
I've never heard of from.
I've never heard of Stephen A. Smith.
No, the guy who wrote the.
Thank God.
Yeah, but what do you think about Stephen A? You know what he's been talking about lately with the Democratic Party.
He's a centrist. I don't have to subscribe to what a centrist perspective. I mean, he's a centrist like Gavin Newsom is a centrist.
Gavin Newsom is a centrist.
Gavin Newsom is saying the exact same thing as Stephen A. Smith.
How? Because he realized progressive policies have been a disaster.
Okay, I mean, so that's
he's a centrist as a week ago when he realized progressiveness is horrible.
Maybe it's
come on, Sam.
Maybe it's like
I just you don't understand. You guys don't seem to understand.
World.
I have a set of politics. I don't care what Stephen A. Smith does. I don't care what Gavin Newsom does.
Yeah.
I don't care.
So you're rigid. You're not changing anything.
It's not a question of I'm rigid and I'm not changing anything. Like there are specifics. Like over time, I've had a different perspective on the deficit over the past 20 years and understood it in a different way.
You become more liberal over the last 20 years. You become more of a leftist and progressive.
You got to be more malleable.
I would say
you got to be more malleable.
I mean, to the extent, like I don't, like you guys have these like labels that you like to use, and there's some
like
type of gradation. But I've always been about where I am in terms of taxation. But I am for a little bit more decommodification probably than I was 20 years ago.
And all I'm saying here before we go, look, I'm going to go to the audience. Audience, we're coming to you here in a second to go through some of the stories here.
Why, we're going to talk about tariffs?
We're going to talk about whatever stories we go through. But the one thing we did learn here with you is America grew up the last 4 years. America grew up the last 4 years. Many Democrats grew up. Every state became more Republican because of the horrible policies on the left. Whether it was how they handled COVID, what they did with our kids, how they handled people that didn't want to take the vaccine, and people were fed up. And they voted for a guy who had already been president for 4 years. So it's not like they said they want something new. They said, no, we want to go back to the guy previous to that guy. That is the biggest black eye to Obama, to Kamala, to Democrats, to everybody on the left when they went back to the guy that they said they didn't want 4 years later, saying, it's like an ex coming back and saying, babe, I messed up. I should have never gone with the other guy. You were my guy. Or guy, babe, I screwed up. I should have never left you for the other girl. I'm such a dummy. Please, Trump, come back. That's what America did. And a guy like you,
I'm not a big fan of Obama's, and I'm not a big fan of Harris's either.
But the point is you still haven't graduated Sanders. That's like 7th grade. The people that follow Sanders and AOC are in 7th grade, 8th grade. Their heroes are in high school. Your philosophies are popular in high schools, not with adults. The policies that you support are high school policies.
They were not popular when I was in high school.
Oh, are you kidding me? Karl Marx was a hero in kids that went to high school because teachers were feeding the Karl Marx stuff.
I went to high school. Ronald Reagan was president. I can assure you that, and the wall still existed, and there was fear of communism, and that socialism was barely ever expressed.
You're a step away from communism. Like socialism is a step away from communism. That's kind of where you are. You're right there saying, guys, I don't want to fully publicly say I'm a communist. I'll stay in this room.
I'm not even identify as a socialist either.
You're a progressive, though.
I would say I'm a progressive.
So what's right of progressive? What's left of progressive? I know you're not big on labels, but just humor me. What's right and left of being a progressive?
I'm probably a social democrat. So I would say that there is a certain amount of society where I believe we do not need the private market to deliver it and is less efficient. So when it comes to health insurance, we have already in this country 1/3, maybe a little more actually, on some form of government health insurance. The VA is actually government healthcare. The doctors work for the government. And that actually gets very, very high marks.
And all I hear is good things about the VA.
The VA
everybody
gets high marks?
No, the healthcare does, yeah.
No,
you go to the VA.
Who? That's 100% false. I get the worst service from the VA. And I'm a veteran, he's a veteran. He doesn't go to the VA. I go to the VA. I called yesterday just to make an example in our...
The VA typically does get decently high marks, and it improved over the past 5 years as well from people that use it. But nobody talks about anything positive related to healthcare ever, so...
In our work area, I called. Nobody's picking up the phone for me to get an appointment. Zero. And when you go there, it's the most depressing...
Oh, so you think the government should get more funding here for this? Or what do you think the alternative should be?
But the good news is when you go to like get your the DMV, the driver's license, that's great service, right?
No, that's the best. Yeah, that's the best. The VA is not good.
States run the DMVs, but my experience at the DMV is not that bad.
But respectfully, there's one thing you said. You said the private market is less efficient. We can look at 250 years of government and everything we've got here. I just can't get
past that.
What's the administrative cost
for Medicare?
And if that's your
cost for Medicare?
Hang on. If that's your one of your foundational beliefs that the private markets will be less efficient, then it's no wonder you're where you are. I'm not going to pick on it. If that's your foundational belief,
who is this guy that wears a suit and is still a retard? Like, I wish these guys would just show up in like Adidas track pants and like some kind of like high visibility vest. Like they're gonna wander out to the street, get hit by a car. Like it's just so fucking stupid. Oh my god, bro, I can't, dude.
Cost for Medicare.
Tell us.
2 to 3 cents of every dollar in Medicare is spent on administrative costs. In the private health
Administrative
insurance,
defined as what? You got to be careful.
Administrative defined as what? Is in cost towards managing patients and not like cost towards healthcare. Jesus Christ. Like, look at the endless pedantry when it comes to something that they want to argue about, right? Versus on the other side, it's just like, oh,
I got to be careful when I hear things like that, because guess what? You go back and you look at, well, I was only counting this. I'm not counting this. It's like the same way.
You have a dollar.
Same way your side would count unemployment and come out later and readjust all the stats.
97 to 98 cents actually goes to paying Medicare providers, doctors,
we're going to move on. We're going to move on because you're
private health insurance.
We're going to move on because I don't like talking about something
It
that
is 17 cents on every dollar.
We can't discuss
because
anything.
they're paying for advertising, they're paying for shareholder value, et cetera, et cetera. So for every dollar you spend, and on top of which, anybody who has private health insurance who deals with it themselves knows it's like having a second job, just to either get reimbursed or you got to figure out every year when you re-sign up, is my doctor in or out of the program? It's a mess. It's a disaster.
Medicare
the
is so good and so wonderful.
People
Why
love
was MedSup and Medicare Advantage invented? It's so good, Medicare.
Because
It's
the
everything
Republicans
for you.
wanted to privatize it, and it is
really? I don't get drug
understood
benefits.
That
Okay.
that Medicare Advantage is the worst part of Medicare, and people get sucked into it, and they find out that they've been hoodwinked. I mean, these are all easily found data points.
Sam, did you fly here?
Yeah.
Did you go through TSA? Did you go through TSA pre-check? Did you go through Clear? What'd you go through?
On the way here, my TSA pre-check was not on the thing, so I just went
It's
through.
messed up. You paid for it though, right?
Yeah, it was $60 for the TSA.
No, I'm saying, but you pay, I think, it was like a $500 or $100 for 5 years for TSA pre-check?
TSA pre-check, I think, is $65 for 5 years.
That's amazing. It's a great deal. Why don't you do Clear?
I don't want to do a private company.
TSA pre-check is basically like a public-private partnership.
No,
where you pay
TSA
a little bit more.
pre-check is pre-check is the government.
Wait, is TSA pre-check a private-public partnership? What?
You pay a
I'm
little bit more.
I'm not going to give my biometrics
he
to Clear.
looks at private companies and he frowns.
Clear. First of all, Clear sucks. TSA pre is infinitely better than Clear. It's so comical that in the United States, Clear is actually worse than just TSA pre-check. Like if you have TSA pre-check plus Clear, I've been through multiple airports now where just having TSA pre-check is better because the TSA pre-check plus Clear line will be longer. Even if they have like 2 people waiting there and there'll be 1 person on the TSA pre-check line, you just go through TSA pre-check and it's faster. I think the Clear thing used to be an okay idea. They either need to make it more expensive or whatever, but Clear sucks now. Like I have both and I don't even use Clear anymore. I just go right to the TSA pre-check thing.
Frowns upon private companies.
Is that what's going on?
That's all it is.
I didn't fully
He
understand.
said, I'm not going to give my money to a private company.
And just meanwhile,
so you know, that's just
you own and run one.
Yeah, so let's go to the next story.
Like Sam should bring up here, how do you feel about all the biometric data that you gave to 23andMe that's now going out of business, by the way? Who's buying that data? What's happening with that?
Can we stay there for a second, please? You don't want to give money to a private company, but you are a private company.
I don't want to give my biometric.
He doesn't collect, like, the majority report doesn't collect biometrics from their customers. Hello?
Can we stay there for a second, please? You don't want to give money to a private company, but you are a private company.
I don't want to give my biometric information to a private company.
You're using
or your dollars.
What about just private companies in general?
I'm happily fine with TSA pre-check.
We already got it. I'm moving on.
Okay, I'm learning.
I'm moving on. No, I already learned. I understand.
Gotcha,
It's
gotcha.
great. So we know what the argument is.
Progressive.
Trump set to unleash Liberation Day tariffs. President Trump will unveil Liberation Day tariffs on Wednesday at 4 p.m.
That was yesterday.
In a White House's Rose Garden, promising to stop America being ripped off and deliver a new golden age of U.S. industry. Though U.S. White House Press Secretary Caroline said that he was still perfecting it to make sure it's a perfect deal with advisors less than 24 hours before. Trump, who on Monday claimed to be very kind, has kept details vague with reports suggesting options from reciprocal tariffs to a 20% blanket rate or preferential treatment for some nations. Rob, if you want to play this, is this yesterday, Rob, or is this...
This is yesterday from the Rose Garden. This is
fantastic. Go for it.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time.
Did they just laugh on set? Oh my God, bro. Kill me. Did they?
Treatment for some nations. Rob, if you want to play this, is this yesterday, Rob, or is this...
This is yesterday from the Rose Garden. This is
fantastic. Go for it.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time.
You're all about to be
April 2nd,
liberated from your money.
2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
I also have another clip. This is the president discussing how the tariffs will help eliminate income tax.
From 1789 to 1913, we were a tariff-backed nation, and the United States was proportionately the wealthiest it has ever been. So wealthy, in fact, that in the 1880s, they established a commission to decide what they were going to do with the vast sums of money they were collecting. We were collecting so much money so fast, we didn't know what to do with it. Isn't that a nice problem to have? What do you think, Marco? Good problem? Marco would love that problem. But we don't have that problem anymore, but we're not going to have it very much longer, I will tell you. But they collected so much money, they actually formed a commission to determine what they were going to do with the money, who they were going to give it to, and how much. Then in 1913, for reasons unknown to mankind, they established the income tax so that citizens, rather than foreign countries, would start paying the money necessary to run our government. Then in
I hope they ask, like, what is a tariff? Who pays the tariff? Do you think we'll get through that on this show?
1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression, and it would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different story. They tried to bring back tariffs to save our country, but it was gone. It was gone. It was too late. Nothing could have been done. It took years and years to get out of that depression, far longer than even FDR had that office right over there for a long period of time. The ramp system, it's rather intricate, was built because of him, and every time you walk up, you think of him, and he did a great job in many ways, but it lasted long beyond his terms, as you know. But it's not too late any longer, and we're going to start being smart, and we're going to start being very wealthy again. We're going to be wealthy as a country because they've taken so much of our wealth away from us. We're not going to let that happen. We truly can be very wealthy. We can be so much wealthier than any country. It's not even believable, but we're getting smart.
Okay, Tom, your thoughts on this, and I'm going to come to you.
So markets love continuity, even if continuity is rooted in, trade inequality and things that have been going on for decades.
Yep.
And to get through the shift, to get through the food poisoning, we can see markets react to sentiment, and markets don't know what to make of this. How many tariffs are going to stay for a day versus a week versus a month? You don't know. How many tariffs are going to shift? Israel actually backed down and said, okay, we're done. Yesterday, correct? Israel went, hang on, we're good. We're backing off. We're done here. Interesting. Canada moved a couple of them. Not the rest of them. Canada's still figuring it out, but they're blinking. Canada is blinking. So now the question is going to be, how long does all this take? And the markets, the markets don't like it. The markets don't like the sentiment of uncertainty. And that's why you have Jim Cramer and other people, we're getting killed out here. You're getting killed because you like the status quo that you had a minute ago, because you knew how to play that game and you knew how those markets work. And respectfully, they're there to trade and make money in an increasing market. What is easier? It's easier to stay yesterday with what we've got, or there's a greater goal. And the greater goal is American jobs. And the jobs report was better than people thought. Interesting. That's not a headline. Why is that buried? And you've got the uncertainty of the markets. Now, the uncertainty of markets makes everybody look at their 401k and look at the things and be concerned. And yes, there's concern there. But you got to look down the street and see where we're going. And it is not easy to get through the food poisoning, but there is life on the other side. And you can see that's what the president is talking about. And I think we got to trust it. And we got to look at what's going on. We can already see little islands of change going on. So let's find out how everybody else moves on these tariffs.
Sam. You said tariff was the last word. That was the only time you used the word tariffs. Look, I am in favor of tariffs when it is part of a specific agenda to build a certain industry or a certain industry within a certain region. This is absolute insanity. First off, they're going to use this as potential revenue. Like he says, it's not going to replace the income tax, but what they're going to do is they're going to use it as an excuse to cut taxes on wealthy people. You guys would be very excited about that. But who's going to pay that tax? If it's $600 billion a year, as they're saying, over a 10-year period, it's going to be $6 trillion. That is going to be an average of $5,000 tax on Americans. It is a regressive tax. I like taxation, but I like progressive taxation, because $5,000 for somebody making $40,000 is a much bigger problem than $5,000 for me or for you. And so this is a regressive tax on Americans. Now, if it's to work to build up industry, and I don't know how we're going to have a banana industry in this country, or how we're going to have a lumber industry to rival Canada's, because we just don't have the wood, and so on. I mean, people get the idea. There's certain industries you can actually say, this is one we're going to build up. Maybe there'll be a low-cost clothing business that revives in this country, but I doubt it. But if tariffs are meant to work to build up industry, that means people aren't paying those taxes. So the tariffs may not raise the money, but what will happen is, and I think you understand this too about pricing, if the price of goods goes up on average, and it looks like in some of these places it's going to go way above 10%. I mean, some of Vietnam at 39%, China 75%. They're adding all these tariffs on. It's insane. Then U.S. companies, to the extent that there are ones that are making these same goods, they have between 0 and 75% to raise their prices. And they will, because, the price of this, there's a certain elasticity, and they can justify raising their prices 5% if their nearest competitor is, 25% raise in price. I mean, they'll do it because, there's some products that people just can't do without. So this is such a disaster. And of course, what it also does is, last time we had a major financial crisis in this country in 2008, it took 6 years for the stock market to get back at parity. You're talking about 401ks have been a disaster insofar as people just don't put as much money in them as they should because they don't have the money on a regular basis. But God help those people if there wasn't Social Security, a robust Social Security, because if you've got to retire and you're 65 and you were planning on retiring, you have a small 401k, it is screwed. And it may not come back for years. Maybe it'll come back tomorrow. But
how do you feel about reciprocal tariffs?
They're not reciprocating. They're not reciprocating.
Those tariffs that he claimed on that chart are not tariffs. Every economist out there has been saying, where did he get these numbers? And they're starting to figure out that they did some weird. There's countries on there that don't even have people in them. It's bizarre. They took the CIA fact book and just made a list of countries. I mean,
we're talking about this subject for a total of 1 minute, and then they're just going to move on to the next thing because it's indefensible. And you say, I don't know anything about that. Remember the secret code? I don't know anything about that. And then move on to the next thing. That's always it. I don't know about that. And then move on.
completely for show.
Which countries?
There's Google it. There's like 1 or 2 places where there's no people.
Every single one of those countries.
No,
is a massive country.
they released a big release. He'll find it. And these are not actual tariffs that are being applied to us.
Every single one of these countries.
There is India. Are you sure there's people there?
China, the EU, Vietnam.
Bro, look, literally Google countries, no people. The McDonald Island, there's a couple other, I don't remember. They're small countries. They have no people in them. Nobody knows the names of these countries. They're small. That's the whole fucking point.
Taiwan, Japan,
Do it
India, South
just
Korea,
Google-
Thailand, Switzerland, Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Which of those countries aren't there not people living?
Oh my God.
Put in the Trump just added a tariff on a country with no.
All right, but okay, so he added one country that maybe
it's just an indication of how slapdash this is.
No, dude.
But these are not tariffs. These are not those reciprocal tariffs. They're not. Those aren't tariffs. He is basically what they've tried to figure out is like where'd they get these numbers from, and they have taken the trade deficit and divided it by what we send there, and that's the way that they've assumed that that's a tariff. It's basically they're just saying we have these trade deficits, and of course we have trade deficits with certain places because there's some products that we're just never going to make, and there's some places that don't have the buying power that we have. I mean, so this is just bizarre, and even like former Trump trade people were just like, well, maybe it's just an opening salvo for a negotiation, and maybe it is. I mean, like I'm just fortunate that I'm not planning on retiring soon, and my 401k isn't decimated. But this is going to cause inflation, and these prices are not going to come down. I mean, Trump is trying to tell U.S. automakers don't raise your prices, and if he wants to impose price controls, he would not be the first Republican president to do this. Nixon was the first president and the only president, as far as I know, to do price controls, at least in the modern era. I'm not necessarily against price controls in certain situations, but this is like such an own goal. It's fascinating.
Of course.
No, Jimmy Carter's waging price controls for decades before Nixon. Whoops. Checking my notes. No, he was after.
Epic! Oh, fuck! Oh, fucking bro, you're fucking epic! Oh.
It wasn't just Nixon.
Well, Nixon started it, right?
And there was no other president since
Nixon started it.
I was just kind of correcting that.
Well, he did. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, I misheard when Sam Seder said the last president was Nixon. That Nixon's been president for like 50 years. My bad. I wasn't paying attention. My bad.
Okay.
Back to
I'm for price controls.
You are for price controls.
Well, I think we should have.
Notice how. Oh my God, are we going to move on from that whole thing? We're going to move on from that whole thing. We're going to move on from the entire thing.
We should have applied some in the wake of COVID. Yes, there was a lot of gouging going on. I think everybody knows that.
I think it's.
I mean, there's plenty of data that at least 40% of the inflation was a function of gouging in some form or another.
Well, Sam, number one, respect for you for being here. I don't think, like, genuinely, whether you're a progressive or democratic socialist or skew socialist, you're talking to a bunch of capitalists and an angry patriot. That's cool. Like, we're not going to change your mind. You're probably not going to change our mind. But what we're solving for is the truth. The reality.
The truth.
Is these reciprocal tariffs, what Pat asked you about. Are you familiar with the golden rule?
Do unto others as you want to do unto them. Is that
bingo? Do you abide by the golden rule?
I mean, in my personal relationships, yes.
There you go. So the golden rule is you want to do something to me, I'm going to do it to you. If you treat me fairly, I'll treat you fairly. If you're good with me, I'll be good with you. But
what
if you
constitutes fair?
Hold on, guy. If you want to actually take advantage of me, then all of a sudden we might have to have a economic war. And that's what's happening. So if you show up that list and then you want to focus on the one random country that you can't name, hold on.
Tell us how England is taking advantage of us.
Yes.
Well, England is part of the UK. We understand that. But
the UK has a trade. We have a trade surplus with them, though. Please, Sam, push on it. Please, Sam, please push on that. Push.
You want to go?
How is the UK?
Sam, hold on. When people talk, you listen, and then when you talk, I listen. That's how conversations go. You know that.
I'm just asking you to clarify.
Okay, I'm going to get there. So the way that these
you're not going to get there. He's just going to keep rambling.
Work is if they're doing something to us, we'll do something to them. Rob, show the picture.
Show the picture.
I would love to hear what you think. So all these countries have people living in. All these countries, these, China, the EU, that's part of, all those countries over there. You get the UK over there, Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, India. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people living in India, South Korea, Thailand. All these countries are charging us. So the reality is, if you go through the numbers, not feelings, Sam.
There's the whole list.
Sam,
the numbers, not the feelings. Please bring up the UK. Please, don't let him get away with this numbers, not the feelings bullshit. He has no clue what he's talking about. Please, God, don't let him get away with that statement. Please, God. Please, God, don't let him get away with that statement.
You to pay attention.
You're charging us. I got it.
Here we go
The
now.
whole list.
They're charging us way more
90% of Vietnam
to access their markets than we are charging them.
That's the whole point. Those are not tariffs.
Stop it. You're going to have to...
Rob, do me a favor.
So we're charging on average 2.5%. The EU is charging on average 20%. Japan is 24%. China 34%. Taiwan 32%. Vietnam 46%.
That's bullshit. You think Vietnam is a 46? Like, if you knew... I'm so sorry. Fuck. It's like when people say... It's like when Dave Rubin was like, how much is Elon Musk worth? Trillions. And it's like... Whoa, that's a really weird number to give. It makes me feel like you don't know anything about budgets or the economy or anything. To say trillions of dollars. Like, a person crossing the threshold of making like, if you ask somebody like, oh, how much do you bench press? It's like, oh, well, when I was younger, I used to be a lot stronger, so I bench press like 700 pounds. Really? Or if you ask somebody like, oh, you have a credit card, what's your interest rate? Oh, it's really high. It's like 90% interest rate. What? That doesn't make any sense. Or somebody's like, oh, I really like cars. Oh, cool. What kind of car do you have? I don't remember, but the engine, it's got like 4,000 horsepower. Like, that's a really weird number. Like, when you just say something, you really think that Vietnam, a place that we import a fuck ton of goods from, they charge a and then we export things to these countries too. They're charging 50% tariffs, 50% tariffs from all these countries. That people are charging that big of a market. We wouldn't have any export market at all. There would be no U.S. export market whatsoever if people were literally charging these tariffs on all of our products. Like, it's just such an outlandishly huge number. And I think what do economists guesstimate that the average tariff that the U.S. faces around the world is what, about 2.5%?
This is what the numbers are. Now, if you have different numbers, I'd love to see them. But the reality is, some of these countries are our friends.
Like, and would say, I don't even fault Sam Seder for the combo, because at least he has like at least the high school level of like understanding of economics. But with the response here would be, let's go to the I think the U.S. either Secretary of the Commerce website or the Treasury Department website, one of them, they literally said how they came up with the tariff calculation. We can go there right now, and it literally says this. The press secretary literally tweeted this. So you're just wrong, okay? Get out of your feelings, little bro, and just look and see what the government said. What Sam said is the calculation that the government literally said they're using. So you're just wrong.
This is what the numbers are. Now, if you have different numbers, I'd love to see them. But the reality is, some of these countries are our friends, and some of these countries are our foes. And as Trump says, if you want to listen to what Trump says, in many cases, many of our friends are a lot worse. He cited Australia won't even let us sell U.S. beef. So all these situations are actual numbers. He talks about the golden rule. There's a similarity there. The golden age of America is what he's talking about, because this is a way to bring down our deficits, to reduce taxes. I would love to hear if you had a better idea.
To bring down our deficits?
These are trade deficits.
Okay.
So we have a trade deficit with Canada of $200 billion a year. They charge us, in many cases, 200 to 300% for dairy. Okay, Mexico is an example.
No, they do not. No, you're absolutely 100% wrong on the dairy. No. Your dairy thing is absolutely wrong.
You think this is my dairy thing?
Yes, this is not.
What Trump said in his speech.
Yes, Trump lied. There is not a single pint of
milk
like you lied
of dairy that goes. How many countries don't have people? Pretty sure India's got a couple people.
That dairy goes to Canada. We don't. If we sell a certain threshold, tariffs are applied, but we don't reach that threshold ever. There are not a dollar.
That's because it's too damn expensive to access the marketplace.
No.
And what? That didn't even make sense. That didn't even make sense. Stop asking about me going on the show. They will never invite me to the show. I reached out. I've talked to them before. I'm never going on the show. These people do not take people that are going to hardcore fucking debate them, okay? They obviously know. They talk about me on other shows about it. Like, I'm not getting invited on this fucking show. Jesus.
Anyway, I'm talking about the sweeping tariffs. You're talking about being a milkman. What I want to understand is, why don't you think...
care about any facts at all.
It's Sam, don't BS me.
No, it's hilarious.
I used to think
Google dairy. Google dairy
Sam,
tariffs to Canada.
Fuck your dairy.
You brought up dairy.
But you want to go... I'm giving one example. You want to have...
That's the only example you gave.
Auto industries, they're charging us 25%. We're now doing a minimum tax 10% across the board.
So minimum, but in other places, Vietnam,
Let me ask a simple question. So, the whole thing Adam just said, it could have been simplified to, we have around $1 trillion of trade deficits. Would you like to fix that?
Part of the reason why we have those trade deficits is because A, we keep our dollar strong. B, because there are bigger customer bases in this country than in other countries. Our economy is based upon consumption.
Do you think we're helping other countries' economy improve? Don't you think we have the leverage to ask more from them?
I think, again...
Well, if you think you have the leverage to ask for more, then why don't you ask for more instead of obliterating your fucking economy? Number one, okay? Number two, do you think that trade is hurting us? Like, Sam should ask that question. Do you think that the trade is hurting us? Are we getting hurt by trading with all those countries?
I think tariffs work if there is a specific industry.
Yeah.
We saw this in the CHIPS Act, right? There were carrots and there were sticks in the CHIPS Act. We want to onshore chip production in this country, both for economic reasons, but also long-term national security reasons.
Example,
so what you do is you provide incentives and disincentives.
Have you ever negotiated a deal with anybody?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess so.
You do. And are you a decent negotiator? Are you a bad negotiator? Are you a horrible negotiator? What would you put yourself as a negotiator?
It depends on the context.
Okay. Do you try to find a way to negotiate where both sides win, like a fair negotiation?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Newsweek. It's a newspaper and outlet that's on the left, but Rob, if you can go all the way to the top. Okay, this is a Newsweek outlet. So full list of countries of reciprocal tariffs. This is from today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yesterday it was updated today.
Notice how reciprocal is literally in fucking single quotes. Do you think there might be a reason for that? Oh.
Okay. Yep. Go a little bit low, Rob, if you could. So let's just kind of go. No. Let's just start from the top and see what it says. So it talks about the Liberation Day. Great. Got it. Why it matters. Tariffs remain in place until U.S. narrows a 1.2 trade imbalance recorded last year. That means we're making others $1.2 trillion more than we're making. Okay.
That's... sorry, I can't.
That's the imbalance. Okay, so this is new.
Okay, I'm just going to let the rest of this play. I can't correct every single... It's just...
The president said there was a
It means
baseline.
that we are buying more stuff from other places than they're buying from us.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we have the biggest consumer engine in the world.
Sure.
So it would make sense.
But okay, so if that's the argument, continue. Now then the next thing would be, hey, charge me the same thing I'm buying from you as you're buying from me. Let's keep that number the same number. Don't overcharge me for it. That is not a tough request that we're making.
Who's overcharging? What are you talking about?
A little bit lower, Rob. Keep going. So the president's based on tariffs of 10% of all imports. Okay, great. According to chart, Trump held 34% on Chinese imports, 20% on goods, European goods. All that'll come up and go a little bit lower. That's the picture he's talking about. Keep going low, Rob.
So it's ultimately going to be 54 plus another 10 on China.
Until we become reciprocal. Yes, the U.S. had an overall trade deficit of 918 in 2024, with the largest gaps coming from China, 295, EU, 235, Mexico, 172, Vietnam, 123. That's the numbers that we have there. Then Cambodia topped at a chart of 49% tariffs, followed by Madagascar, 47%, Sri Lanka, 44%, Vietnam, 46%. If these were the two countries you said they don't have people there, I think they got people there. So if we go a little bit lower, keep going. Here's a full list from Newsweek. China, tariffs charged to the U.S., 67%.
That's just not.
Us to them, 34%. EU, 39%.
This is the list that the White House put out. And
do you think this is, how would we sell products to anybody? How would we export to anybody if this is is U.S. manufacturing so efficient and so good? Because if U.S. manufacturing was so good that we could sell products to South Korea at a 50% tariff, how the fuck are we not just selling it domestically? Why would people buy anything from any of these countries? Like, if U.S. manufacturing is so fucking competitive, like, there are so many reasons why a chart like this should instantly stand out to you as being absolutely fucking stupid.
All economists are looking at this and go, what are they talking about?
Can fact check.
Yeah, Sam should Sam doesn't, I don't know if Sam knows or not. The government, the U.S. government literally put out how they calculate these. It has nothing to do with tariffs. The U.S. government literally, they put it out.
Let's put out false information.
Can fact check this. If not, that's Newsweek. You don't believe
the president of the United States just held
you
up
believe in real news. So
false.
China people there. So if we go a little bit lower.
It even says here, each country's tariff rate was based on the U.S. trade deficit with that country divided by the value of that country's exports to the U.S. Trump then cut that number in half, saying he was being kind. So it doesn't have anything to do with tariffs. Sam's explanation was correct. You just skipped it because you're either illiterate or you're evil.
Keep going. Here's a full list from Newsweek. China, tariffs charged to the U.S., 67%.
That's just not.
Us to them, 34%. EU, 39%.
This is the list that the White House put out. And all economists are looking at this and going, what are they talking about?
Can fact check.
Yeah, they're not going to put out false information.
Can fact check this. If not, that's Newsweek. You don't believe in fake news.
The president of the United States just held up
You believe in real news. So Taiwan, 64-32. Japan, 46-24. India, 52-26. Who the hell negotiated? Look at, by the way, each one of them is almost 2x. 26 times 2.
Who the hell negotiated? Trump was president for 4 years. Did you forget already?
52. 25 times 2 is 50. 36 times 2 is 72. 31 times 2 is 62, but they did 61. 32 times 2 is 64. Malaysia, 24.47. Go a little bit lower, 49.97. 10.10 UK were the same. So South Africa, 30.60. Brazil, 10.10. Bangladesh, 37.74. 2x. If these numbers are true, Sam, let's say somebody on the left, okay, fact checks this, and this is someone that's a person you respect. If these numbers are accurate, what do you say then?
I'm going to read from CNBC since you guys won't Google this. Many observers said the U.S. appeared to have divided the trade deficit by imports from a given country to arrive at tariff rates for individual countries.
It was in your Newsweek article. You just skipped it.
Appeared to have divided the trade deficit by imports from a given country to arrive at tariff rates for individual countries.
What's the title?
Google CNBC. How did the U.S. arrive at its tariff rates?
Go for it. We're not uncomfortable showing clips. Just say it, he'll pull it up. So which part do you want him to read?
Well, scroll down right there. Just number 2. Many observers said the U.S. appeared to have divided the trade deficit by imports from a given country.
Oh, they're going to fix it on this. Many observers said. Do you think? Let's find out. What is he? I'm going to say he's going to fix it. Many observers said. Of course, they're going to lie about their tariffs.
To arrive at tariff rates for individual countries.
Many observers.
Such methodology doesn't necessarily align with conventional approach to calculate tariffs. I mean, they've just made up what the tariffs were.
No.
Sam.
Okay, maybe their methodology is different, but what are the actual tariffs?
This is my question, though.
Look it up, flounder, and then move. Look at the actual question. Pivot to the next thing.
I actually want to know this here. Rob, you can ask Grok to fact check it. You can go under Charlie Kirk and just type in Grok, is this accurate, these numbers? You can go to ChatGPT, that's ran by Sam Altman.
Ask it. Yeah, what would ChatGPT even say here? Do these represent the actual tariffs that these countries have on the United States? Or ask Grok, what is the average tariff rate that the U.S. faces in other countries?
Enemy of Musk, and see what that one says. You can fact check both of them. This is all I want to ask you to see what's your credibility with being able to reason. If those are correct, that they are charging us more taxes than we are, what do you think is the right thing to happen, if those numbers are correct?
I think we should look at what industries we want to build in this country. Car industry, let's say. Let's say we want to build solar panels, which is one that I would choose. Just as an example, we could go down the list, right? And I would also look at okay, what regions do we have in this country that need more jobs, more manufacturing? And then I would target tariffs, not necessarily on the whole country that's coming in, but I would target on those products coming from a given country, because that is what is called a plan.
Does it matter
as opposed
what the
to this?
No,
absolutely.
So you're willing to pay more you're willing to allow the other person to tax you more for a product you're buying than you're doing it to them? Who needs who more?
They're not taxing me.
Hang on a second. The reciprocal tariff is simple. It's saying, if you charge me an additional 30, let's match it. I'll do 30 as well.
The point is that when, let's say...
You're not being charged with the tariff, your consumer base is. The point isn't that you're being charged. The point is that it's making your product less competitive because your citizens won't pay for the product because you're artificially increasing the price of it. Dude, I can't. 30 minutes?
China has a 50% tariff on our cars.
Yes.
Okay? And they do that because they want to build their car industry.
Sam fucked up. He should have asked. Sam should have backed up and he should have said, what the fuck do you think a tariff is? Can you explain it? Jesus.
Yes.
Okay? And they do that because they want to build their car industry. It is not going to create inflation in China because they have such a high tariff on our car. We may have, and certainly by we mean corporate America.
Politicians.
And maybe
not corporate America.
It's corporate America.
It's politicians.
Listen,
really, you think politicians are the ones that are making all the money? Even with Nancy Pelosi's net worth, my guess is going to be any one of Trump's cabinet members is probably worth more. What is the entire net worth of all of Congress? Net worth of all of Congress right now. Is there like a thing that adds up literally the entire combined net worth of Congress? My guess is it's under $2 billion. There's probably 6 different individuals in Trump's cabinet that are collectively on their own worth more than the entirety of Congress combined.
I saw in the 90s like how corporate America was so freaked out by Tiananmen Square. But I'm telling you.
My question is, if that's accurate, if those numbers are accurate, that
I'm not going to punish the American people with a regressive tax because you have some literally elementary school notion of fairness. Honestly.
If those are true, okay, on them charging us more, would you sit there and support?
They're charging more for our products to get in there.
Do you think it's fair for us to pay twice as much as we're charging them? Do you think that's fair?
I don't think that.
We're not paying twice as much, and that has nothing to do with anything. That's not how tariffs work. Their citizens are the ones that are paying twice as much, and it just means that we can't export as much. I don't even know if this guy knows what a fucking tariff is.
That fairness has anything to do with it. What's best for the American
person? You're a fair guy.
What's best for the American public?
Okay, so let me ask you another question. Who needs 2 more? Does YouTube need you, or do you need YouTube?
I probably need YouTube.
Why do you need YouTube more?
Because they have a lot of other people they can go to.
Oh, thank you. Who needs 2 more? America? Do you need the American customers, or do we need Bangladesh? Who needs 2 more?
We better hope that a lot of these countries don't.
Sam's next question is like, do you think I take advantage of YouTube? Or do you think YouTube benefits from me being on the platform? Or do you think both of us benefit from me being on the platform?
I mean, Canada is starting to develop a different relationship with China. I mean, this is going to ruin a lot of...
It's going to bring jobs to America. This is why Apple said, I'm investing $500 billion here. This is why UAE said $1.4 trillion. This is why Saudi said $600 billion. This is why all these companies said hundreds of billions. Why are they saying that? Why are they saying that, though? Why are they saying that?
I hope this goes well.
But why do you think? Why did Rolls-Royce say we're going to move our different plants that we have from Mexico, Canada, and China to the U.S.? Why are they saying that? Why are they saying that? These are jobs for your American people that are not getting paid. Trump's trying to get those people jobs. Why don't you support it?
There may be some benefit in terms of like manufacturing, but overall, you're going to have a regressive tax on Americans.
If you
it's not targeted. When you target cars, I agree with you. Tariffs have a place, but there's no plan here. The idea of just blanket fairness doesn't mean anything because you're forcing Americans.
Dude, the guy's done more in the first
tax.
60 days than the last previous 4 presidents, not including.
And I hope the courts continue.
Remember, I don't know if these guys did it in particular, but all these crybabies used to cry about how horrible executive orders were, and now they love that Trump was a big executive order guy. They love that Trump used so many executive orders. It's their favorite thing in the world.
You inhibit what he's doing.
Yeah, well, that's great job. Sam, just to build on what Pat was saying, Apple promising to invest $500 billion, SoftBank, Oracle, $500 billion, NVIDIA, TSMC, the Semitic, $100 billion, $200 billion, Meta, $500 billion, Eli Lilly, $27 billion, Johnson & Johnson, DMAX, CMA, CGM, Stellantis, GM, Hyundai. The list goes on. All these companies are basically saying we're going to bring back manufacturing jobs to America. Bringing back jobs will stimulate the economy. Isn't that good for America?
Part of why I respect Sam here is a fine. Let me tell you why I respect Sam.
Do you know why I respect Sam? Can be helpful.
Here's what I respect Sam.
There's not even a chance to answer a question. It's like a joke format, dude.
Not going to get huge banana production in the United States. But now your bananas are going to cost an extra 10-20%.
Hundreds of billions of dollars.
But he's not going to give you credit. He's not. You don't understand. He just said earlier, I'm not going to give my money to a private corporation.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He just told you earlier.
I said I'm not going to give it to Clear at the airport.
No, you said private corporation.
I have TSA pre. Why would I give it to the private?
We can go back and play what you exactly said. This is recorded. So for me, I'm already at a point that I ask you if it's the same. if those numbers are accurate, do you support it?
No.
I would go, okay, so no matter what Trump does, you're not going to support
No, I would support.
No, but almost somebody would sort of blanket 50% tariffs on half the world.
tariffs.
If trillions of dollars are going to be invested in the U.S. economy to create jobs, you don't support that.
What's that?
If trillions of dollars of money is going to be invested into our economy to create jobs, you don't support that.
No,
you want that money to go to the 10 million illegal immigrants that came here that was open order on the Biden. That's what you're saying. And by the way, the fact that you're open about it and you're honest about it, great.
Okay.
At least you're not playing games. At least you're saying that's who I am. I would much rather give my money to TSA because it's a government entity than clear. It's private. I would much rather give my jobs to illegal immigrants than give the jobs
Clear
to
is
Americans.
also like double the price. It is. For at least you get what you
that's
pay
now
for,
you're
right?
changing how the argument.
I even had a problem, to be honest with you, paying TSA pre because it is sort of just creates two-tier system.
But would you be comfortable if there was no clear and no TSA pre-check and everyone just had to be exactly the same, just everyone TSA?
I mean,
would you be comfortable with that?
Comfortable in this? I mean, the way that it was.
There's
before.
no paying for anything. There's no clear.
I do think
there's
it's
no TSA
unfair
pre-check.
to people who
Everyone
can't
just
afford to pay that they have to wait in line and that rich people get to fly through. I do struggle.
Did you fly first class on the way here?
No.
Have you ever flown first class?
Back in my show business days.
What an elitist you are. Have you ever flown private?
They would pay.
Have you ever flown private?
No.
So everyone should be the same. Everyone should just do TSA. Everyone should fly economy. It's very unfair if some people are doing better than others.
I think we can agree that it is a little unfair that money will get you through that line at the airport, which is like supposed to be mass communication. Yeah, I mean, mass transportation. Yeah, I do think.
Do you only take the regular basic Uber?
Do I only take the regular
basic Uber?
Lyft?
Lyft? Do you only take? Do you never use the black? You never use
What does
the
this have to do
SUV?
with anything?
here.
For
Well,
paying for...
That was what you said.
Oh, so you won't pay out of pocket, but if someone will pay for you.
But wait, there's one thing.
Dude, you're a straight up communist. I love it.
Hold on, there's one thing that you said that
I respect the fact that you're here. You're just espousing socialist communist ideas. Massive respect for you coming here. You can embrace it. It's all good.
The one thing that kind of just brushed over is you saying that you hope that these judges keep interfering with Trump's agenda, which is you're basically cheering for unelected bureaucrats to go against the will of the people. Like you're hearing yourself. That's not democracy. That's a power grab. So you're happy with all the judges and all the law firms going after Trump. Yeah, those unelected guys. You're cool with that. So if that happens to your guy,
I am cool with judges appointed by Bush and Obama and Biden and Trump stopping the unelected bureaucrat Elon Musk from shutting down key functions of our government.
True.
Yes.
okay, our government has been broken for like
no response, and there won't be a response.
What has anybody done to fix any of the problem? All the money going, all the everything. The fact that you're happy with them trying to, Sam, this is the will of the people. How many 70-some million people? You can laugh all you want, but you're happy with judges interfering with what the president of the United States has been.
Yeah, that's a judge's job, dude.
Has to do. He has a mandate. He's kicking ass, and I feel Sam.
I will quote from Elon Musk. This is a referendum on Trump. This is a referendum on Doge. This is a referendum on Musk. And 2 nights ago, he got clobbered in Wisconsin, and he was there on the ground in front of a big American flag, telling lies about Social Security and the American people in Wisconsin. Not all. 60% of the people in Wisconsin. This purple state basically said go home. Enough so that Trump has to leak that he's going to get rid of Musk and kick him out. I don't think he actually will. But he felt the sting enough that he realizes he has to do that because Doge and Musk, and I suggest Trump, very unpopular. I mean, obviously we're talking a margin, right? Because there's going to be 45% of people who are going to be in favor of whoever the Democrat is and 45% who are going to be in favor of whoever the Republican is. But on the margins, yes, 6 months ago it was different, but today it's very different, I think.
But Sam, and here's the thing. Okay, so Trump is done after this, right? 4 years, he's gone.
You promise?
Well, he's going to be gone. Like he likes to troll all you guys, and you guys all lose your minds, and I get it.
I haven't
But
really
what? Here's my thing.
Troll.
Again, and this is going back to the beginning.
Guys.
What are you guys offering? What is your side saying? Okay, besides the Trump evil Hitler, because that shit didn't work. Your side literally called him Hitler, and the guy got shot in the freaking head. Okay, that's your party. Now he's going to be gone. Okay, who are you guys going to put up? Who is it? Because it looks like it's going to be Gavin Newsom. He's podcast, all this shifting to the other side. You guys literally have nobody.
I would bet you any amount of money that it's not Gavin Newsom.
It's going to be the front runner for this upcoming.
I will bet you any amount of money that the nominee in 2028 will not be Gavin Newsom.
Nominee is going to be running.
Guys,
the front runner.
Guys, place your bet.
Yeah, let's
$100.
$100?
That's all?
Let's do $500.
Oh, look at
this.
500.
Look at 400.
No, don't be a pussy.
Adam, shut your freaking mouth. I bet you $500 all the freaking time.
Bet in the middle at 250 right now.
I still want to know who do you think?
Hold on. Oh, that's nice. Good job, Sam. With the betting strategy. Boom.
In 2028, and let me finish. In 2028, who is right now? I know it's a while out. Who in 2028 is going to be the front runner for the Democratic Party? If it's not going to be Gavin Newsom, who that slithering snake is making the move to do it. Who is it going to be? I'm very curious.
I will bet you 1,000 it won't be Gavin Newsom, but you're stuck on the bet. I don't know. I think there's a chance that like if I had to guess, and this is not necessarily who I would support, and I'm going to wait. I don't really, to be honest with you, I have spent zero time thinking about 2028. But if I had to guess, I would say somebody. No, it's absolutely true. I would say Pritzker, Whitmer.
Pritzker.
Wow. Pritzker.
Are you a billionaire?
You're comfortable with the fact that he's a billionaire?
No. Like I say, I'm just guessing based upon like what I'm seeing out there. I think Buttigieg also not a fan. I think he's going to run. I think, like you say, Newsom's going to run. I would imagine there's going to be a couple of people in Congress who are going to run. I don't know if I could, even in a list of people that I would name, I would feel that confident that I would know who would win.
So if you could root,
Mullen have been dead for so long.
That's funny. If you could root for one person, I would like to see this person. Who would it be?
He said it earlier.
Bernie.
Bernie?
Yeah, well, no, Bernie's too old. He's
so
not
AOC?
No,
Is that your favorite
AOC,
candidate?
I don't think would win.
So who's your person? If you could put your money on this.
Holy shit, we got Richard. We got him. Finally. It has happened. For those asking, yes, voting for Trump was a mistake. I thought we'd just get a repeat of the first admin, but we didn't. The signs were there. I just not take my own ideas about the awfulness of Trump and MAGA seriously enough. When I said I would vote Trump in 2024, I was clear-eyed about the human capital problem on the right. I just thought the basic ideological basis of conservatism, free markets, individual rights, tough on crime and foreign adversaries was sound, and enough of it was left over to make even a Republican president this personally flawed a better option. Yet, I was expecting something of a repeat of the first admin, with Trump restrained by traditional conservative ideas, personnel, and institutions. As it turned out, the old Reagan coalition was becoming increasingly hollow. That already was destroyed in 2020. As it turned out, placed by Trump worship, online edgelordism, and late arriving scammers like Crypto Bros and Maha. The signs were there, and I talked extensively about how Trump was becoming something of a cult leader with few checks on his whims and desires. But I must have thought that maybe Jared Kushner would just wait until he fell asleep around noon and then start making all the right calls. Is Kushner involved at all anymore? Regardless of the nepotism, and I think it was bad in the Trump admin, Kushner seemed to be like a sober person. Or that it would be Elon, but that Elon was a smart guy with libertarian views instead of someone whose brain had been completely melted by right-wing internet slop. The problem in the end, though, wasn't just Trump as an individual, even though he's quite awful, but the entire idea of anti-establishment politics. We now have a great deal of empirical evidence showing that populism simply does not work, whether in its right or left-wing form.
So that's my point. They don't have anybody. That was my point.
No,
they have nobody.
I don't speak for the Democratic
Party.
Party.
I'm asking Sam Seder. I'm not asking the Democratic Party. You got to have someone in mind that you would like to see.
I think Murphy's also going to run. I want to see what people, who shows up with what.
I'm not even speculating. I'm asking, who would you want to see? You.
No.
But you don't have anybody?
Yeah, you don't understand.
Really?
Yeah, I want to see who's going to...
You're a big podcaster. You don't have one person you'd like to see?
Let him
To
finish.
be president?
Yes.
It really depends, on...
Just give me a name of
I
one.
don't have...
How do you not have a name?
Well, that was my point. They don't have anybody, bro. That's the whole point I was making.
I'm not asking them. I'm just saying Sam Seder, professional podcaster, progressive, democratic socialist. You don't have one person you'd like to see?
Like to see as president?
Himself. I vote for Sam. That's it.
I mean, I'm curious, I'd be curious, if I just don't know enough about, someone like Andy Bashar.
Okay. But you know enough of who you like. Just say who you like.
I don't have that kind of relationship with politicians.
You don't know their names? You don't know their names?
Listen, I've had on the show.
Come on, Sam, bro. Do better. Just say a name. We'll move on.
Jeffrey
AOC?
Crockett.
No, I don't like her policies.
Who do you like?
Jim McGovern from Worcester, Mass.
There we go. Jim McGovern. Let me go. Congratulations, Jim McGovern.
I don't think
there's our boy. Future President of the United States, Jimmy McGovern.
Get it,
Jim. Making America great.
Let's go to the next story. I'd like to do two more.
He's a great, actually, congressman.
No doubt. He's got a chance.
Texas high school football star.
Wait, real quick. Is there a way to get these arms to automatically load more than 11 magazines into these turrets?
No, you should also keep an eye on Pat Ryan. I mean, there's some stuff I disagree with him on policy, but he's also pretty good up in the 18th.
All right, now you know names. I love it.
Texas high school football star Austin Metcalf stabbed in the heart, left to die in twin brothers' arms at track meet. This is a very, very difficult story. This is the father. And Vinny, maybe you want to preface what happened with the story.
Okay, so they allegedly they went to a track meet, and I guess the guy in the bottom said something like, the guy on the top said, hey, you're in the wrong area. He stands up, stabs that kid on the top in the heart. And the other guy runs away, and then his twin brother, comes and holds him as he's taking his last breath, and he dies. And then this is the father, which is this is probably one of the most humble Christian based freaking interviews. He's getting a little bit emotional, but listen to what he says about the whole situation.
Got in his brother's arms. They were twins, identical twins, and his brother was holding on to him, trying to make it stop bleeding, and he died in his brother's arms. And I rushed up there, and I saw him on the gurney. And I could tell. They said he wasn't breathing. I could see all the blood. I saw where the wound was.
Austin, his father shares, was born 2 minutes before his twin brother Hunter, the two inseparable, as you can imagine. Austin is being remembered as an outstanding student at Memorial High, his football team's MVP, and a young man of faith. His father grappling with loss and forgiveness.
I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet, and he murdered my son by stabbing him in the heart.
What is the point of this?
The guy
is the guy
was in
an
the
immigrant or
place,
something?
and he bowed up. This is murder. I don't know. I know they have someone in custody.
Yep, you do.
And you know what? I already forgive this person.
Already?
Already. Wow. God takes care of things. God's going to take care of me.
Is it just because he's black?
God's going to take care of my family.
Wow.
Tom.
Wow.
I think this is one of the most amazing testimonies I've seen in a long, long time.
What the fuck is the point of this
story? And I think there's two things here. And he's asking, without condemnation, just the question I think we all should be asking. What was up with the parents? Is this a single parent household? What sort of guidance was there? What sort of enablement, are we giving? And to stand up and say, I forgive this, most people won't understand. They say, I can't forgive him. I want him to go to prison. Well, maybe that's what you want. Now, and maybe that's what you're going to get, because there's consequences for crime. And if this young man, the one that's photographed there in the mugshot that's being circulated, if that's the guy and this is what he's done and the witnesses confirm it, then he's going to go to trial and that's all going to shake out and he's going to go to prison for a long, long time.
Wow.
And I think consequences are different from forgiveness. And the forgiveness this guy has in his heart, which appears to be led by Christian values, is tremendous. And what it means is, I'm not going to let eternal bitterness here hurt me. Is he going to hate what happened? Absolutely. And the loss he's got for his son, the grief has just begun. But he's also saying, I'm turning to the Lord to remove my bitterness so that I can go forward and live. And there's going to be consequences here on earth, this kid. There's two tragedies here. The tragedy is we have one young man, apparently, if this is a guy, who's going to go to prison for a long, long time. So he's going to be gone to his friends and family, just as this young man that was murdered is gone to his family. And the question is, what was the core of the belief structure and the life support and the examples and the mentoring and big brothers and people around that leaves this guy? Why do you bring a knife to an event? Because you have intent and you're going to show people and you're going to do things. This is all well documented in the failures of what goes on. And I have a lot of, I just got so much respect for the father at this time of grief to be speaking this way. But I've also got it says, you get what you want. You get what you vote for, and you get what you want in this country.
What did they vote for? Did they vote for knives
kids develop differently and better? Let's get behind that. But there's a flaw somewhere in the heart of this kid. That number one, he's carrying a weapon that he intended to use, apparently, and he used it.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Let's go look at that.
I think anything involving children is difficult as a parent. That's always difficult to see. And I think, very admirable, the father's response to it. It's sort of reminiscent of what they call restorative justice, which I think has application in some areas and in others,
that's going to trigger
a little
them.
bit more difficult. But that's what you're talking about when you talk about that type of forgiveness and making sure that the victims of the crime or the family of the victims can move on and live their life without being stuck in that moment. To the extent that you can. I can't even imagine losing a child or a sibling, frankly. But I think it's a little bit exploitive to assume that this is necessarily a political issue. I mean, yes, I don't think people should be carrying weapons in public. I don't know where this took place, what the gun laws are or what, but yes, I am against people having weapons in public. I don't know why this guy brought the knife in his pocket when he left the house. I don't know what goes on at his house. I don't know if the guy was on the other team or I don't know any of the details about it. So I wouldn't make some type of larger political statement that this has something to do with electoral politics. I mean, we have a society that in many ways
actually fucking true. Excuse me, why would you assume that just because this brave American was bringing a knife to an event that he has the intent to hurt somebody with it? I'm sorry, you can't use knives in self-defense? Why would he assume that? Does that mean anybody bringing any weapon, like a gun, to an event has criminal intent, or?
Elevates violence. And, and I think you could argue the violence that we pay for, in other countries and get back pictures on your TikTok every day of what our weapons have done. Certainly MLK said, every bomb that we drop in Vietnam blows up here. And the idea behind that was that, you cannot have a society that condones waging violence and not expect that violence to end up being self-inflicted. So,
Well, it's a sad story. I mean, hurt people. I think it's entirely appropriate to speculate who raised this young man. You're 17 years old. You're bringing a knife to a track meet. Someone asks you to, hey, get out of the way in the wrong place, and you end up stabbing them in the heart. I mean, what's going on with this person? What type of emotional pain, what type of anger, what type of hurt was this person already dealing with that this was how he enacted his revenge for being told to move at a track meet?
Maybe he was in the way.
Texas has the death penalty,
Just kidding.
if I'm correct. So I don't know what's going to happen with this kid. He's 17 years old. I'm sure he'll be tried as an adult, in my opinion. But my message is to one person and one person only. It's to the twin brother who's still alive, Hunter. And I can't even imagine what this guy is going through right now, because the father took the high road, obviously probably a man of faith, a Christian, and I understand his perspective. The twin brother, who looks identical, I believe, I can't even imagine the hurt, the pain, the grief. Every time he looks in the mirror, he's going to see the brother that was killed and died in his arms. Oftentimes people say, hey, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for you. Genuinely, I think anyone that runs into this guy in his life, give this guy the biggest bear hug you possibly can and help this guy cope. I recently was in New York because I had to go to a funeral for one of my closest friends' younger brothers. And they were incredibly tight. And to see the hurt in the family and the pain in the family and the hurt in my good friend's heart because he lost his brother was so tough to deal with. And all I could do was give him a hug and say I'm there for him. So Hunter, the brother who's still alive, you're living for two now. My message to you would be honor your brother, live for him, and and make the most out of this life because you got 2 people to represent for. So God bless.
Yeah, that was a very good take, Adam, on a story like this. You hear this, it breaks my heart as a parent. You don't have anything to say. And for the father to react that way, I mean, give me a break. Like, there's not more class to be shown than to handle that. I don't see the story everywhere. I don't see people talking about it. I don't see it, where it's being publicized or talked about. You said this is, what word did you use? You said, I don't think it's a story for us to use as anything. What did you?
Oh, sorry, because he's black. I wish we could just go back to saying the N-word. We need to bring back slurs. I just want to hear them. I would feel better just hearing him say it. I would just feel better hearing him say it. Like, what is the implication? We're not hearing them talk about it because it was a black person that stabbed a white person? Like, is that where we're going with this? Or maybe I'm being racist. I'm sorry. Maybe there's going to be some other really outstanding thing that he's going to be talking about here. My bad.
You said something about political. I don't think there's political or anything to it. The question that a lot of people would ask is, what would happen if this was the flip side? Who would be covering it right now?
Oh, my God.
Everybody. Where would it be right now? Where would the story be right now? That's the divisiveness of what America's sick of. That's the divisiveness. That father gave a message that's a unifying message. That father gave a message that is a example to other fathers that you try to. You're like, oh, my God, the standard. But to me, when we think about
I'm sorry, you don't think white people kill black people or black people kill white people? There's probably hundreds of white people killing black people in the United States every year. What are the actual numbers? Isn't it like 400 or 500? I feel like I read this somewhere. Fuck, I don't remember. For the interracial stuff, like this happens. It's not like it's never happening. Like, people don't make a big deal out of every single one. Like, and also, I don't know. I have seen this story today. I've seen this story. I don't even know why the fuck anybody's. I assumed when I saw it, because I just saw shit on Twitter, I thought it was like an illegal immigrant or something. That's why it was blowing up. But it's just because the guy's black. My bad.
The America flip in certain places. And why maybe mainstream media has been getting a black eye just as much as the Democratic Party, just as much as the U.S. government, just as much as CIA, just as much as FBI, is because the American people are just sick of it. They're fed up. They want to go back to living a normal life, and they want these divisive messages to slow down and find ways for us to sit down and have a conversation together. Sam, there's probably less than 10%.
What the fuck does this story have to do with that? You want to reduce violence in America? Okay, do you want to talk about, I love guns, but the number one killer of people who are like teenagers for children is gun-related violence. Do you want to do something about that? Oh, no, we can't talk about that. Oh, we can't talk about that. So this is bullshit. What the fuck? You don't give a fuck about any of these people at the end of the day.
Percent of policies you and I would agree with. When the more and more I listen to you speak and say the things that you say and your approach to it, I sit there and I say, I can't understand this guy, why he believes what he does. But you know what I will say? Tremendous respect for you to come here. You came, you gave your arguments, did your thing, you leave. This is the second time we've done this. Not a lot of your peers do this often, and they all get invited. But they don't come.
I don't know that I have any peers.
No, what I mean is from people on...
Somebody, listen, you give me a 15-second streamable of him saying that, and I'll tweet the clip out and I'll tag him.
The left
no
that are...
peers,
you got 1.76 million subscribers. You put up 26,000 views. You are somebody that in your space you speak, and you have an audience that listens to you. They like to see your perspective. But a lot of people on the left, when we invite them, for whatever reason, they don't show up. And I got
It's a long
so
trip
much
for me. It's just a straight shot down to New York.
Respect for a guy to come in, sit down, have the conversation, and everybody that's watching this, whether you agree with him or not, you have to respect that he came here. Because that, to me, is a very, very high level of respect of anybody that's willing to have the conversation. If you do that, we need more of that, and let the American people decide and say, I don't agree with Pat. I think Pat is wrong here. I don't agree with Sam. I think I agree with that. No problem. You get to decide, and we get to have the conversation. But
let me at least return the compliment to you, because I, according to Tim Pool, was blacklisted by all the right-wing shows 2 years ago when you had me on, and I think I think it was my opportunity to say, like, I can be well-behaved sitting here, and we can get into arguments and whatnot. You were the only show that would do it. Now, Tim has since sort of oddly reversed, and I was on his show in November, but after I think he sat right here and said that I was a grifter. But be that as may, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fancy car that took me here. And the hotel.
Next time we'll just do regular Uber X and put you in economy, Sam.
Feel free.
Sam,
a 2-minute ride.
Publicly, please come back again, would you? A year from now,
whatever. What do you mean? Even in 4 years with the bet, it's $100.
Exactly.
$100. We'll come back to that $100. We should charge interest on that.
So tomorrow we have Terrence Howard. That's a podcast is going to go up. Very interesting conversation. I brought a guy that was a 17-year. He's currently with NASA. Like, he had to give a disclaimer and say, my opinions today are not the opinions of NASA.
Oh, wow.
So we brought a physicist that works at NASA to sit down while we had Terrence here. Have had a lot of different conversations. Play this intro. This will go out tomorrow morning.
Oh, my God, the crazy guy.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
So after I'm done here today, I'm going to put online the equations necessary to have unlimited energy, just to say F you to the world.
Interesting. Okay. So, you guys have never met. And you're currently working for NASA.
That's correct. I don't have the degrees he has. And guess what he doesn't have? He doesn't have an understanding of how the universe works.
You don't think Eric Weinstein
He has no understanding.
Entire quantum mechanics built on this model.
Is wrong.
He's bringing another dimension. Okay.
if another country gets their hands on this,
it's an end of America.
This is the
If I have to go to
cargo
China,
landing pad.
they won't
Fuck.
hesitate a moment to use lynchpad, which they're forcing me to do. Do you know that they took away my passport?
Why does this matter?
Puppy invited me.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
He's like, I think he's trying to f you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh. If it's wrong, you'll never hear from me again. I'll walk away. But if I'm right,
let me tell you.
They're going to talk about everything.
It was so entertaining. By the way, here's the crazy part. Guys, you know what I'm talking about.
Here's
guys,
the crazy part?
Huh? By the way, it's very interesting. Because you know he was on Rogan, the first one. It was very interesting.
Yeah, of course.
And then they do the one with Eric Weinstein, the 4-hour, which I thought was fascinating to watch the exchange. But for whatever reason, the gentleman, Dr. Yu, from NASA, didn't fully disagree with some of the things he was talking about, which was very weird for me and had never met. So he didn't find him. We didn't tell him that he was going to be here until he came here. The first time he met Dr. Yu was 2 minutes before we went live.
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah,
I saw the meeting.
that's right. So anyways, by the way, here's the crazy part. Terrence Howard's on Connect. I said, Terrence, all these people that ask me stuff, I'm not doing it no more. I want them to ask you. So if anybody wants to ask any questions of Terrence Howard, download the app Connect. Rob, you have the QR code?
We do. We have the lower third right now.
Okay, so it's in the lower third. If you see it, just go. You can send him a Connect. And whatever questions, thoughts, and stuff that you have, he's officially on Connect. You can ask him the question. All right, Sam Cedars' YouTube channel is going to be also below in the description. If you want to give it a sub and follow his content, we're going to put that there as well. God bless everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Holy Christ, AIDS.